Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am Aurora. Today is February 8th, 2023. This is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, Level 1, Lesson 11. And the name of this one is called Energetic Anatomy and the Sun. So if you see me looking off over here, it's because I have my notes, which I always extensively prepare every time before class, even though I'm kind of like a musician, like I know these songs, I know this music, but I always go over it just like you would prepare for any kind of sharing that you're going to do with other people, so that you make sure that you've got your patterns inside of you and you know what you're going to be playing with music or speaking about. Oh, let me mute you guys, not because I don't love you, just for the sake of the recording. And let me drink some of my structured water, because literally I was just out WALKing with my little DOG, who is right over here. Hey, there's Cheeky. We got to share Cheeky with everyone. And I tell her that everyone on the internet loves her. She needs to hear it. So, and I hope that you guys are uplifted by her presence. I know I am. Let me drink some of my wonderful structured water. We were just outside walking around, so that way she got plenty of exercise. So there's no pressure on what we're going to be sharing about today. And also gives people a few more moments to zoom on in. Thank you for your patience. I sound out of breath. Okay, thank you. And make sure also that I don't have to jump up for my sculpture. This is here. So this morning I had a wonderful early morning conversation. It's called Quantum Conversations. If you guys haven't ever checked it out, Lauren Galey, beautiful person, beautiful, I would say, show or podcast to be able to learn about new things. And I was just there sharing about the Path of Light curriculum that I've got. So invitation and continued encouragement and enthusiasm for anybody who's not already signed up. This is Saturday mornings, my mini class or new curriculum that is going to be for the next 5 consecutive Saturday mornings, beginning with this Saturday. I check on my calendar to make sure I say the right date. Hold on a second. The calendar is going to tell me the right date. February 11th at 11 a.m. Perfect. And going forward for the next 5 weeks, and basically a new way of diagramming, drawing out, writing about, and talking about the abstraction of light, light as consciousness, intelligence, information, organizational principle, and sentience on its journey, and how that relates to you as a giant ball of solidified light. You're a giant ball of solidified light. And so bringing it around to always the significance of what it means to you as an experiencer, not merely an abstraction. I'm also feeding my dog some little TREATS because she's a little bit, wanting to play. It's a beautiful sunny day, actually. Very, very beautiful sunny day, which is fantastic because this relates to our actual curriculum of this class. Energetic Anatomy and the Sun. So if I just take a moment to pull up a little something in terms of an example of energetic anatomy. Hold on one second. I use this one most of the time when I talk about this. This is etching or scratch board. Is it on my computer screen? Is it hiding somewhere? There we go. Let's go to this. All right, hold on a second. Share screen. Good. Fantastic. This is a scratch board that I did many years ago at this point, and I did a little bit of computer augmentation on it just to clean it up. This is what I mean when I refer to or talk about energetic anatomy. So this is the surrounding energetic envelope that can also be described as a standing waveform presence that surrounds each one of us. This is also what I'm talking about when I hold up this sculpture, and we'll refer to this sculpture a lot. But this body that I'm showing you here, it is not made out of optical light, even though the light that we experience is analogous to optical light because it has the colors of the rainbow organized wavelengths according to the colors of the rainbow. But it really takes something beyond physical eyeball hardware to be able to see what is going on in order to perceive this body of pure light and see it in other people, what is required is the activation of your inner eye, your eye of insight. So a more subtle eye, in order to perceive and receive the more subtle light of this body, which is also analogous to the optical light that we see coming at us from the sun. But also please comprehend that this body of light that I'm talking about here is information, intelligence, organized data, and most importantly, think of it as a series of possibilities and probabilities. Because as I go back to my face now, that is what our sun, which is just one star out of a vast array of network of consciousness, that is the stellar network. But our nearest broadcaster, that is what our sun is broadcasting. It is broadcasting light, but that is light that is made out of time, possibilities, and probabilities, awareness, and sentience. So when I talk about your energetic anatomy, I'm talking about a bubble or a force field or an envelope of time, possibilities, and probabilities that also relates to consciousness or self-awareness or sentience, which is what light is on its journey. So path of light stuff is the advanced heavy lifting. Get your heavy weightlifting belts ready, get your lumbar support ready for the heavy lifting on Saturdays. And all of it relates or is an outgrowth to what I share here in terms of the concepts of what is your energetic anatomy and how does this relate to the sun. So this is actually really, really good backstory and affirmation of the things that I talk about in my new Saturday class. The first thing is, when I talk about things in this class here, and you see I wear a cross, my cross is non-denominational and it is absolutely inclusive. I reclaim this symbol. I have no fight with the established Christian church. And I also set myself apart or distinguish myself from it in that I'm not affiliated with a particular earthly sect or belief system, and that this doesn't just represent something about a particular building where people go on a particular day of the week or self-described denomination of devotion to a particular teacher who is a very beautiful teacher. That is not what this is about. This is about what I am describing as Christ consciousness. And Christ consciousness, some people are like, I don't like that. I'm angry and defensive. That's watered down Christianity or some other form of, I'm personally insulted or insulted invalid. Please don't be insulted. Please don't be insulted, and please be in celebration of the concept of this chakra or anatomy of your body being something that all of us have that is used to receive light, and that light is information and pure awareness. So the light, the time, the probabilities, the guidance, the nourishment that we receive is non-denominational and inclusive. That means that you receive this light as an aspect of being in existence. It is not dependent upon a particular belief system or agreement or devotion to a particular level of religious teachings. So for example, this Christ chakra that receives light, I have one, my dog has one, with no condescension. Dogs have them. Cats have Christ chakras. Microbes have Christ chakras. Every single cellular, individual, alive cell of your body has a Christ chakra or an anatomy aperture for connecting to and receiving light. Everything that I'm teaching about right here today is about the amazing, empirical, beautiful, abstract truths of light. Plants have a Christ chakra. Now, plants are not vertebrate. They don't have vertebrae or a central nervous system, which is one of the reasons why it is so challenging for people in a human bodysuit to even recognize or talk about the intelligence present in a tree or in the orchid that's growing on my windowsill over there, or in whatever, like I'm thinking of a little algae cell, a little tiny, waterborne plant, single-celled organism like an algae. These are incredibly complex organisms. They are geniuses. geniuses of photosynthesis, geniuses performing their most amazing, supernatural, miraculous feats in front of us at all times. We need to become intelligent enough to be able to perceive the intelligence of the world around us. And that includes an algae, a redwood tree, my dog, your cat, other humans, of course, and so many other aspects of the natural world around us, all of which are part of this stellar, abstract consciousness network of light. So we've got our galaxy that is just one of an almost uncountable number of galaxies. Galaxy is a conglomeration of many, many, we can say billions and billions, like a famous person once did, billions and billions of stars. And that's just one. It's just one symphony, one band, and there are many, many galaxies. At the center of every galaxy, you have this supermassive black hole. That is like tap, 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 the conductor. The conductor is the one who holds the orchestra together, creates the coherence, is the central signaler, organizing and coordinating all of these individual musicians. So every single star in our galaxy is an individuated musician. Our sun in the sky that we know as Sol, S-O-L, solar system, is the nearest musician in the giant cosmic symphony, making it louder to our consciousness than the other musicians that are also out there playing. But every single musician is essential in this music. One is not better than the other or more relevant to you. And the one that is closer, what do I mean by that, or more louder? When we look up at the daytime sky, there's a big giant ball of plasma in the sky. That's the brightest thing that's up there. Sometimes it's so bright, you're like, it's so bright. Like, give me a hat, give me some, whatever, some shade or something like that. It is a ball of consciousness, and it is emitting light, and the light is awareness. And the awareness, so the light, this rewinding. Okay, for anyone who is new, because I always am speaking to this now kind of presumptively, like, oh, you guys are all experts and you're all in the class and you already know this and everything like that, and you do. But for anyone who is new, although stars and light emitters in the sky, like the sun and the stars, are often portrayed by earthly material objective science as just these giant biomechanical, chemical unlikelihoods, like a cascade of chemical reactions is happening and light is just shooting off in every direction. They or it are so much more than that. Very, very highly organized levels of sentience with a profound amount of wisdom that are creating art projects known as biological, alive life, you and me, and redwood trees and butterflies here on this planet. And not only on this planet, but many other planets too. Please pardon me, I'm also, because today was a marathon day, I'm drinking some of my wonderful superfood coffee. So thank you for allowing me these interruptions for sustenance. I need sustenance, guys, to keep going. Pardon me. But the sun and the stars are not just big, giant, stupid, or silly balls of light in the sky or balls of plasma in the sky. And the light that they emit, and not just like a bunch of photons, a bunch of light flinging off randomly in a bunch of different directions. Hope that my face expresses this to you. No, no, no. Highly, highly organized. The sun and the stars themselves are all connected. So again, this is not the presumption. I'm correcting the mispresumption that every star is somehow just an individual disconnected from the larger network. They are all not only connected, they are intimately connected. They're a family of light, and they are literally our family of light. When I show you that picture of your chakras, or when you see something painted on my fabric and my paintings here, that is your light body. It is made of cosmic math and accuracy and accurate color proportions and harmonics. And that's the language that your light family speaks. And I say light family in the sense of origins, like our family, when we talk about that in terms of biology or soul, is like, these are your people. These are where you come from. And guess what, guys? Those are your people. Those are where you come from. You are not disconnected from them. You are highly connected to them. You are intimately connected to them, and they are all intimately connected with one another. So all of these stars that are in our night sky, when our loudest musician goes to the other side of the planet, then we can hear some of the other musicians, like, I can hear the piccolos now that the timpani is not so loud. All of these other stars that appear to be more distant than our present star, and they also are points of consciousness who are very loving. Like, I will also tell you this in terms of characterizing stars and energetic anatomy in our sun. Can't get to be a sun star and a musician conductor at that level without being very, very virtuous. You must be so virtuous, so good, so responsible, because you are literally here. This is also my little digital paintbrush. You are an artist painting reality. Every single one of the suns and the stars that are up there are painting reality with their mind. That's their job. That's the job that they have earned due to their resume of virtuosity. They are not only excellent in their math and in their calculations and in aligning with divine perfection and empirical truth, they also have total responsibility and total goodness. And that means, like, I'm an artist. I use this expression all the time, this example all the time. Done in my painting in here, my current painting. Sometimes I'm painting away, blah, 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 I paint on my painting. And then, like, I put my elbow in it. I'm not on purpose. I'm like trying to reach something else, and my elbow goes on something that's wet, and I make a smudge or a smear. And instead of being like, oh, like, that's not my fault, I didn't do that, somebody else's fault, like, blame that guy over there, la, 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 or put it on a wall in a gallery with the big elbow smudge in it, and then have to explain to others, like, oh, no, I didn't want that part to look like that, but it ended up looking like that. It's an accident. It's not my fault. Somebody else, call somebody else, Cosmic Complaints Department. No, instead of all of those things, if I notice there's a drip of paint, a splatter, my elbow mushed something that's not supposed to look like that, what do? I fix it. I'm like, oh, I can't leave that the way it is. If it's not dry, I scrape it off. If it is dry, I literally have a little razor blade that I carve it away. I do surgery on the painting, carve away the part of the paint that is not perfect, and repaint it, paint over it again. Sometimes I've even had to go all the way down to the level of the gesso, the white original base coat of the painting, in order to fix things. And that's me as a physical artist working with molecules of paint, all right? So much more so are the levels of creatorship and personal responsibility in the sun, the stars, and the network of Christ consciousness, creating reality structures and taking responsibility for those reality structures. So when I talk about the network of Christ consciousness, it is similar to my description of the many multiple stars as a network and a great giant neural field in the sky. Christ consciousness being a multifaceted gem. Insect eyes are multifaceted. If you've ever looked at the eye of a bee, they're very beautiful. They look like many, many multiple, like, I keep using that word, facet, these little crystalline faces. A composite eye like that is different than our form of biological hardware. And it creates a totality view that is based on many, 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 many hundreds of little tiny slices of reality. And the insect cobbles together, knits together all of these diverse viewpoints into one viewpoint of what the world is. So of a bee flying around, it sees all of these different refracted, slightly unique viewpoints of what, like, a field of flowers looks like. And then it integrates those many multiple diverse viewpoints into one epicenter. This is also what Christ consciousness is. And I say Christ consciousness because although we've had amazing master teachers in Christ, where we have even had a religion that is called Christianity, in beautiful homage and reference to that one particular teacher, that particular teacher is one facet of a much, much larger level of consciousness. So this is not a dilution or a disrespect to that teacher or to that belief system or to anybody's deeply held beliefs. It is a different or alternative perspective description of what is happening in terms of consciousness. You can even say that Christ is synonymous with consciousness itself. Let's just go deep, guys. Let's just go into consciousness as a phenomenon, that it is one of these supernatural miracles, inexplicable. What is consciousness? What is self-awareness? Where does it come from? You can't buy it in a store. You can't weigh it on a scale. It is something that is difficult to demonstrate and prove in terms of objective materialist science. Every single one of you has consciousness, and not only you. Like if I say like you, Pedro, you, Charlie B, you, Lucy, these are just some of the names that are at the top of my screen. And I love and honor all the people that are here, just not naming everyone who's here and everyone who will catch the archive. You're all beautiful and included. You have a particular name that is your overarching consciousness, but then you also have like all of the cells of your body. Every single cell of your body is conscious, and you can do a lot in terms of self-sustenance and self-healing by speaking to your actual cells of your body. I would actually encourage all of you to have a positive rapport and a dialogue with your cells, where you talk to your cells every day and you tell them, like, hey, cells, like, listen to me. You know, I'm the person driving the car. You're a part of me. You're a part of my larger body. I'm going to keep you healthy. I'm going to give you good nourishment. I'm going to protect you from poisons or things that are not nourishing and life-sustaining. And also talk to your cells and say, don't listen to that other guy. Don't listen to those 5G networks. Don't listen to those chemicals over there. Don't listen to all of those things over there that are telling you a false story that you shouldn't listen to. That are like, talk to your DNA and tell your DNA, like, you listen to me. Hey, like you, like snapping your fingers. You're going to listen to me. I'm the one that you want to be listening to, not any of these other errant signals that are not only erroneous, but that are largely anti-life, that they cause the cells of our body to do the math homework wrong and make the cells of the body die, also cause the overarching animal who you are to die. So back diving into my notes of what I did from 10 years ago, the question of sun worship. You know, humanity in your cultural heritage, humans of this present world, look at other times and places through their ethnocentric and biased cultural lens. And they're like, oh, those primitive loincloth wearers worshiping the sun. They were so very primitive. I condescend to them slightly, and how foolish they were, right? As opposed to, I think you have to acknowledge their incredible sophistication, and you could call it grace, in being able to recognize this innate truth that you have a very powerful ball of awareness or sentience in the sky that is affecting events, orchestrating events of life on Earth right here, has a direct impact on you and your life and your body structure and what you are doing and what you are experiencing at all times, and even in the potentials for your future. So modern religion and culture says these primitive loincloth wearers were worshiping the sun, and all of these different things that kind of misportrays the truth of what they were doing in living in reverence for the sun as life giver. And we do have that phonetic commonality. In Christianity, it is called the Son of God, like the male offspring, but it is also the Son of God, the sun in the sky, Sol. So I like that play on words, and I think that that gives us some creative, poetic wiggle room to be able to look at this in positive ways. Sun worship reverence for the sun. These are sophisticated things. So I talk about many different things. Some of them are defined as pagan. Some of them are defined as polytheistic. Pagan could be from many different continents, but it might be from Europe, the sense of sun worship. Ancient Egypt was polytheistic, but looked at the sun as an overarching god that was known as Ra, R-A, and that all of the other deities were sub-deities or facets of that larger consciousness. And then there are many other unnamed cultures that arose and fell. We don't have the writings or the information about who and what they were that had so much reverence for the sun. Because why? No sun, no life. You guys know this. The sun is heat that keeps you warm. The sun is light that gives you information about your environment. The sun causes plants to grow. And in my Path of Light class, I go into the specifics of what is happening during photosynthesis so that you can really, I want to say, sink your teeth into the miracle. You can really know every detail that can be observed even under a microscope of what is happening in biochemical bonding and molecular bonding and unbonding when light becomes matter. That is a miraculous thing that happens to us literally all the time. It's happening outside of my window right now. When I drive down the road, on every side of the road, there's all these trees and grasses. Miracles are happening all the time. Even when you go out to your garden and you look at like blades of grass that might even be considered weeds or unwanted plants, all those unwanted plants, they're like unwanted miracles, like miracles, stop happening. Like you're making too much photosynthesis. Now I have to get, my weed whacker and get rid of you. But that's just kind of the bizarre irony of this time and place. Nature and the life force energy is so powerful, so profound, so prevalent. It's everywhere. You can't get rid of it, to the point that everyone that's kind of more in the mundane viewpoint, they're like, these miracles of life are inconveniencing me a lot, and I'm going to have to get either my weed whacker or my mower and mow them down, because they don't necessarily look at it as like the primacy of light and how much it is inevitable for life to arise in the presence and the primacy of light. But that's what you've got going on here. So ancient sun worship is not primitive. It's highly sophisticated. And actually, some of those highly sophisticated cultures are the basis and the foundation for what we presently know as Judeo-Christianity, which come to us as outgrowths of the religions and worldviews and cosmologies and approaches of ancient Egypt, if you want to know the truth about that. So very deep importance for looking at the reverence that humanity has had for the sun as life giver throughout our world. Forward to the future and where we are right now. It is not necessary to have a formal worship relationship with the sun as a god, as it is often presented in religion, where one is supposed to be like a smaller, less powerful version who is quote unquote humble, asking for intercession from something larger. It's always like, I'm a small nothing, you're the big everything, fix it, all right? That's my synopsis of basically how religion has been presented to humanity. That stance or rapport between the smaller, inadequate, egocentric viewpoint and then relating to the larger, highly adequate, totally empowered totality state known as God is changing and shifting now in this generation. That this is part of the culmination or the rectification of our journey. We're moving out of that age of the external authority figure that says, hey, I'm the big everything, I made you, you do it my way or the highway. And you're like, okay, I'm little and small, I'll do it. And you instead, in this new relationship stance, my back goes up, claiming more of your own responsibility and empowerment, and having a relationship of reciprocity and rapport. Because what really is happening is God, which is this divine presence, a field of pure potential, like that energy field around us is a standing wave. There is an energy field of pure potential that is divine intelligence and God and godliness. And we are in a relationship with that pure potential, which, spoiler alert, is you. And guess what else? I'm going to spoil the whole thing. If you don't want to know, fast forward. I'm telling you the whole entire, whatever, TV series here of reality, of the reality show. Spoiler alert. The sun in the sky is actually you. That is actually the highly advanced, highly refined, incredibly wise version of you in viewpoint after many, many, many life adventures and life refinements. That is you. And you are absolutely, from that vantage point of being a sun or the star, still connected to and perceiving yourself in biological multicellular form. And you're not hating yourself and you're not condescending to yourself. You're loving yourself. You're like, oh, I love my little vulnerable self down there. The self that like needs to, drink water or juice because I get thirsty. The self that, needs to wear clothing to stay warm. The self that needs to be sustained. The self, this is big, that might not know and perceive everything yet and needs guidance and information. So when I am drinking my wonderful superfood coffee here, it not only contains glucose, it contains guidance and information, light that is custom made and tailored to exactly what are my needs. My needs are more than merely caloric. These are not just generic, interchangeable calories. The light that comes to each one of us from the sun and the stars is uniquely, as I said, tailor-made or custom-made for you. Where were you born? Where did you start out in terms of your trajectory in time? Where have you been flying through time? Like, did you fly through 1969 to 1971 to 1987, then you flew to 1993, then you flew to 1997. You have your own unique path that is unique to your life and your consciousness and does not match and is not interchangeable with anybody else's life pattern, in exactly the same way that your fingerprint is unique, in exactly the same way that your DNA and your soul signature is unique. So the light that comes to us from the sun and the stars, although all of the light is available to all of us, we do not all receive the same amount of light. I can talk about a rainbow too. When you see a rainbow in the sky, the epicenter is you. I know, this is very, very big. If I'm standing here and someone is 2 feet away standing right next to me, we actually do not perceive the same rainbow. I perceive a rainbow that is the epicenter, me with a giant, like ring of light energy all around me that ends up looking like an arc across the sky. But someone else is not seeing the rainbow from my point of view, even 2 feet away. They are perceiving a different rainbow that they are the epicenter of. This is profound stuff. So the energy and information and sustenance, I guess is the best word, the sustenance in the form of food and light that comes to me from the sun is uniquely tailored to me. So this is part of Path of Light and not part of my notes from 10 years ago, but I really want to emphasize this. The sense that okay, blah, blah, blah. If you just received all of the light information that was available to you from the sky, it would just be like a total whiteout. Light everywhere, because you don't just have, like, if this is the sun, you don't just have one beam of light that's coming off of the sun and getting to you and going into your eyes and creating an amazing optical phenomenon. We'll talk about that too, because light reaches your eyes, goes into your retina, and then it's not moving at the speed of light anymore. Your retina is this amazing membrane that actually has multiple layers that intentionally slow down the light in a very particular process that transforms it into an electrical impulse. And I talk about that in Path of Light also, the relationship between electricity pointing at my incandescent light bulb and my light fixture here. The light out my window comes from the sun and the stars. Indirect light, like the light from my light bulb, comes from electricity. And electricity is not synonymous with light. It's not moving at light speed, but it is part of the overall spectrum or waveform slice of reality cake that we define as light and electromagnetism, and that the information, the light that comes to us through electricity is its own particular form of information that does not contain the totality of everything, but contains a portion of what the information that comes to us directly from the sky is containing. So you have one beam of light. Like, this is actually the best thing to do. Do this if it's not going to be freezing tonight where you live, and you can do this without getting frostbite. Never get frostbite, okay? But get a blanket if you're cold. Sit outside tonight looking up at the stars if you can see them, and understand that every little tiny twinkling seeming individuality point of light is customized and vectoring on you. They are all coming directly to you. Like, they know that you are there. This is also not part of my curriculum. I'm just speaking extemporaneously here. Those are your real light masters. They don't fly in a clank clank metal spaceship. They don't have to land on the front lawn of the White House and declare, like, we are here and we are envoys of light. Like, they are right there in the night sky talking to you all the time, and they don't need some kind of concordance or government writ of authorization, like, we are now allowed to come and interact with humanity. Not at all. They are interacting with you beyond the self-proclaimed empowerment structures known as government. And this is also the real story of what is happening in our world. Like, we're transcending government because you're not going to have to ask for permission. Like, government, am I allowed to talk to the stars? You know, what do you think the government is going to say? First of all, government is going to say no, and you're going to have to pay your taxes. If you want to talk to that star, like, you're gonna have to give me this many taxes, something silly like that. Your fee or your whatever obeisance must be paid to the government before you're allowed to do that. So please don't even trouble your mind with that level of perception, because this is cosmic law beyond the constructs of earthly government. And that earthly government also relates to the sense of external authority figure over, religion, many, many years of people saying, somebody else tell me what to do. Government told you what to do, or established religious teachings told you what to do. I'm not here to just diminish those things in terms of human value. I'm really here to say you're in a different time now, that you don't have to ask for permission from those intermediaries. No intermediary is desired or required, only a direct rapport between yourself and the sun, or yourself and the stars. So you don't need a writ of authorization from the government, or to fill out your forms in triplicate or something like that and receive a star talking registration license. You need like a comfortable lawn chair or a blanket. Go sit outside under the stars at night. Every single one of those stars is beaming out energy, and the energy is not random energy like blah, blah, blah. That energy is like, I need to talk to that guy down there. I need to talk to Pedro right down there. And I'm going to beam some light energy directly into that guy's eyes. And every single star that you're looking at, when that light beams into your eyes, is giving you this customized level of nutrition, information, and uplift. Customized and relevant to you, not relevant to some guy sitting 2 feet to your left or some girl sitting 2 feet to your right. They're getting their own customized curriculum from the sun and the stars. That's very, very big and important. And also, please know that every single beam of light that you're ingesting that's coming to you from the stars is not random. So if you go outside at 7:35 at night, some of these beams of light have been traveling for a very long amount of time, like distance or time. And that's the beam of light that's going to go into your retina and stimulate your optical cortex and become a piece of information inside of you. That's timing. When I talk about the cosmic conductor, there's like tap, tap, tap. Sometimes you're a part of that. And you're like, something? I just need to go outside right now and look at the stars. It's not random, because you need to get outside and get that particular curriculum that the sun and the stars is creating and sending out for you, or that particular music. Do I have my piano on? That particular music, let's play. Yes, you can hear that. That chord, the songs, the stars, I call them the songs that are up there that are playing, they're like, I'm going to play this just for you, like whatever, some kind of a personal performance, like, baby, this one's going out just to you. here's some music from my heart into your eyes, and that they literally are doing that. We have an enormous support system, an enormous amount of encouragement and support in our own journey. And so also, spoiler alert, like I say, with a great deal of accrued wisdom over many, many levels of refinement, you become the sun and the stars. We help ourselves. Like imagine reaching back in time to any time when you might have been troubled. Like I sometimes imagine times for myself as Aurora, when before I really became a musician, I felt like a little bit, my shoulders a little bit down like this, like I'm not that much of a musician, blah, blah. And myself from the future here being like, reaching back in time, being like, Aurora, buy that piano. You need to learn to play the piano. And this is me from like whatever, 12 or 15 years ago. But that piano is expensive. And it's like, buy the piano. You're going to need this. It's important in your life. And then listening and then doing the work and then learning to play the piano and how much it changed and improved my life. We're doing all of this for ourselves. So there is a version of you that is the sun, and it reaches back or in to your lifespan, and it gives you information and guidance, tells you to do things that you absolutely need to do because they're a critical part of your journey, and you must listen to that guidance. It's part of your levels of growth and maturation and wisdom. And at the same time, so that's very individualized, and I talk about a lot about this individual way of your life being orchestrated by the sun and the stars. But the sun also is on its own exploratory mission or self-expression journey, which is what it is to be an artist. Every sun is an amazing musician in the sky. Every sun star is a musician of consciousness who is exploring their own interior realm by creating these externalized art projects known as life. Your life is an art project of the stars. You're not just some random, stupid, disposable person. Your life matters. And the star that is emitting the timelines that have to do with you and your life actually cares about its creation. Can you imagine that? Because a lot of people are stuck in the abandonment mode where they're like, does anybody hear me? Is there anybody up there? Is there anybody out there? Does anybody know that I'm struggling or that these things are going on Earth? And there are very many things that are not fair. And I joke about the brochure and the pamphlet, like this was not in the pamphlet and things are not okay. Does anybody know? The answer is yes. Do the stars know? Yes. Does our particular star know? Yes. And not only comprehends and perceives what is happening here, but cares deeply. You're not in abandonment, and we receive an enormous amount of rectification from the sun and the stars. So this is also not something that is in the, this is in the notes, sun gazing. Every time you do sun gazing, essentially what you're doing is getting your software upgrades, even though everything is in air quotes, because I'm not a transhumanist, but I'm using these as analogies that are things that you can relate to. So what's my practice like with the sun? So first of all, when I first came here as Aurora, I did exclusively sun gazing because I have imprinted upon having a body in the time known as ancient Atlantis or concurrent Atlantis, which is when everybody did sun gazing exclusively, and everybody ate light directly from crystals exclusively, and did not do anything with the intermediary of plants, animals, glucose, coffee cups, or anything like that. I was just talking with someone about this morning. It was a steep learning curve for me. I didn't know anything about food when I first came here. I didn't even know, like, okay, like I knew people drank coffee in the morning, but I didn't know, like, you have to put like a little milk or coconut milk or something in there, because coffee is like kind of acidic. Like it will give you a tummy ache. You got to put something in there or have a little piece of toast along with it. I didn't know any of these things. I didn't know about food combinations, preparing food, cooking it, or even what parts of food are edible, what parts of food are not edible, what things are not wise food choices. You can see I'm struggling for the words. Some foods are labeled as food, but you should not be eating them. And I'm talking now about like the Twinkies, Ding Dongs, and other forms of quote unquote foods that are not real foods for our body, but that are available in this world. I had to learn about all of those things because mostly what I'm familiar with is the time when we lived before death was invented. before death was anything that any of us experienced or could experience, because we were guided at every moment by this inner source of light that gave us such amounts of nourishment and direction and guidance that we couldn't make a mistake. We only played correct notes. We never got sick, never had disease, never had chronological decrepitude, and never died. And that is our true nature. That is our true blueprint or factory settings. And humanity has been genetically modified many, many times in levels of suppression to bring you away from that level. You are immortals, to bring you into levels of mortality. It has been largely against your consent and not part of the divine plan, and not part of even the plan of the sun and the stars. They didn't set out to make, like, let's make these really crap cars that are going to, degrade in 100 years or less. Like 100 years or less, and that's how long your body is your car. That's how long your vehicle is going to last. Like, that's not a very well-made machine, even though in our world, everyone is like a car is only, these days you buy a new car and it lasts 10 years if you're lucky. Everything is made of plastic. I might sound like whatever, an old codger. Like, they used to make cars and it lasted much longer, but it's true. It's true, guys. And everybody trade them in for the next model. Cars, it's called planned obsolescence. It is part of the car industry. And so what they say is, let's make these things wear out pretty fast. You're going to have to get the newest one. You'll get the newest, most stylish one with like the jack for your headphones, and your CD player and your MP3 player can fit inside of it. My car is old, and my car doesn't have any kind of thing for headphones, CD player. And it's definitely not one of these cars that has a touch screen on it that needs software upgrades. So back to the sense of, when you do sun gazing, what you are doing is getting the relevant daily information, nourishment, and custom tailored guidance program of what you and your cellular body needs in order to effectively navigate reality for that day. Because this is an ongoing work in progress where the painting is in flux. The painting is not static, the painting of reality. So the sun is like me when I'm a painter. I'm like, okay, I have this idea. I have an initial visionary burst. Wow, that's an amazing idea. Let's make that as a painting. And then as I'm going through the painting, I'm like, well, I thought I was going to make this part green, but now that I'm doing the whole drawing and I do the color study and I look at it, I'm like, maybe that part shouldn't be green. Maybe it should actually be turquoise. Maybe I should actually change this part over here and change this part over here, making different color choices. Or maybe I also need to do is have less green in the painting. Mostly my paintings, you know what I do? I calibrate away from orange because it's such a bright color. It kind of tends to stand out of your eye. So I do a whole color study, look at it. I'm like, oh, too much orange. I'm going to have to change this around. The sun does something very similar in that the sun is constantly emanating reality structures and then receiving feedback on those reality structures. I literally do this every day, almost every day. That my practice, my life is very disciplined. Sometimes I do a lot of other side gigs and secular work that I'm not always able to do this. But when I'm in control of my schedule, every day I write my music, spend some time working on my current painting that is my work in progress. And then at the end of the day, you know, like I'm tired, right? Like you, I get into my pajamas, I either sit on a comfy chair or I get into bed and I prop my painting up kind of at the end of the bed. I put on my headphones of the music that I've been creating during the day. And I look at what my creation is. It's a work in progress. It's not finished. And I let it speak to me. And I'm like, how's this looking? How is this coming along? You know, how is this feeling to me? And sometimes with my music, I'm like, oh, those drums are way too loud. I'm gonna have to turn those down. Or too many flutes or whatever it is. That sound is very annoying and high pitched. I'm gonna have to turn that down. Sometimes on my painting, I'm like, too much orange. It's way too bright, or not enough this, or more likely, the more important things are, I start to see patterns emerging. I'm like, wow, you know something, the way this circle touches on this circle, these things are very interesting. And I wanna emphasize these interesting surprises that come forward that I didn't know would be in there as part of reality structure. The sun does the same exact thing. It's a constantly fluid, ever-changing, work in progress, art project in flux. That is your life. And your life is not floating around in a void, a contactless void. you're actually connected to a lot of other organisms, everything from the microbes in your stomach and the microbes lining your skin and your, whatever, every level of your cellular structure. Dogs, cats, redwood trees, and people in your lives that you hug, the entire ecosystem, the entire solar system, and big takeaway from this class in particular, all light everywhere. You begin to recognize and calibrate to yourself as a pure light being, recognizing and defining that although you have a material, biological, multicellular body, it can be perceived and defined as light that is going slower than the speed of light, which is matter. So the matter of your body is slowed down light, and recognizing that you are light submerged within an ocean of light. And when you start to get to those levels, you're getting to the levels of unity consciousness, and you are getting to the levels of fastness. So Einstein gave us beautiful teachings, but he also gave humanity like a ceiling. The ceiling, the limit of what you can do, according to his teachings, remains that you can't get past the speed of light. Like once you slow down, hum-de-dum-dum-dum, and now you're just a bunch of matter not going very, very fast. Einstein says, well, the equations, in order for them to balance, means that you're going to have to require an infinite amount of energy to be able to reaccelerate and get back up to light speed. This is the presumption. Let me just drink a little something here. This is the presumption that your reacceleration to light speed has everything to do with like getting on board a clank metal spaceship and pressing the ignition of a giant rocket and then like blast off, and you're going upward or outward into space and going faster and faster and faster, and that's how you get to light speed. That is not how you get to light speed. And I talk about this all the time. How do experts do star travel? How do you get to light speed? And the answer is you have to have a concentrated and customized flow of information, which is light, which is data, which is intelligence, which is organized information coming into your mind through your inner eye at just the right rate. It is not merely about optical light. It is about intelligence light, understanding and comprehension. You have to have a tailor-made, customized set of ideas that comes inside of you that says, here's how you go faster. Here is how you speed up. I wanted to say fasten up. Here is how you get faster. Here is how you speed up. Here is how you return to light. And we actually had the opposite, a story that was told to us about how you go slow, that we've been going slow for a while. We've been laboriously and studiously, ponderously agreeing with and listening to this story that says, yes, you're made of heavy stuff and slow stuff, and it's called matter, and you're not moving fast, and you're not moving at the speed of light, and you're not doing all of these things. In order to return to light, what you need to do is listen to the story that comes to us from the sun and the stars. That is a story of the reacceleration of your body. It is a realignment with a direct data stream that begins to tell you a narrative story that essentially never ends. Right now, what is sustaining me is partially this beautiful story of light, and then partially food items from my environment. Like, I'm going to eat this chocolate eclair from the pastry case. I do not usually eat these things at all, but I'm choosing something that's like the most delectable. I'm going to eat this delicious thing. It's going to come inside of me. It's going to sustain me. Then I'm going to eat this, whatever, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's going to sustain me. Then I'm going to eat this, whatever, carrots, apples. That's going to sustain me. I'm not just eating objects. I'm eating information and relationships that are the end result of some organism having a rapport with the sun, even to the point, if I'm going to eat a piece of chicken, what I am eating is the body of an animal that had a whole relationship with the sun and the stars. And I'm not judgmental, and I encourage everyone here to move out of judgment in the assessing of food sources, because when we really get up to these levels of pure abstraction that just are on the envelope threshold right before you get to be a light eater, you start to see everything as an abstraction. because I know there's this presumption that it's like, well, first you start off eating dense food like animal products and stuff like that. Then you become a vegetarian, you still eat eggs and cheese. Then you become a vegan and you still eat grains and stuff like that. Then you become just a water liquid, juice faster. Then you become just a breatharian, and then you eat nothing but pure light. And I think that that's a little bit facile, because I think what really happens in the journey as you become less dense and moving at a faster rate is that you start to see all food as an abstraction. So continue to avoid like the genetically modified stuff and the things that are truly garbage foods that have like literally no nutrition, and they definitely reduce life force energy from your body. But in terms of like organic apple, organic peanut butter, beautifully well-tended chicken, beautifully well-tended eggs, raw milk, all these different things, like at a certain point when you get up to this threshold of light, you're like, I'm a multicellular piece of light in a sea of awareness and an ocean of consciousness that is connected to all light everywhere in an ocean of consciousness. And light flowed to this organism over here that is known as a chicken, and then pieces of that chicken flowed inside of me, and light flowed to this tree, and the tree left things on the ground that also flowed inside of me. Like, you get to these levels of abstraction where you start to see that everything is light. You are light, and everything that is in your environment is light, and everything you're eating is light. But that what really matters is that you're eating exactly the right particles of light, and then also exactly at the right moments and in the right proportions. So I would encourage you to look for the food items that glow to you. So first of all, we're going to do sun gazing, and we'll do some sun gazing together. But in choosing your physical food items, not everybody is the same. Just as the epicenter of the rainbow for you is unique to you, and that guy 2 feet away has a different rainbow created and prepared for them. Your life journey is unique to you. The nutrients that you need to eat are unique to you. So even as you're like, even if you're going to eat a piece of chicken, not all of these pieces are the same. Kind of look in the case and be like, that one is glowing. That's the one for me. And then when you're home and you've prepared it, you should eat the number of bites that is the right amount for you at that moment in your life. Because instead of being just like, oh, science tells me I must eat this many grams of protein or this portion, you have to listen to yourself. And it goes even beyond physical appetite. You have to have your inner eye tell you how many bites of this you need to eat. How many walnuts or pecans do you need to eat at that moment? You can eat more later. Be open to these levels of rapport and perfection coming from the sun, because instead of thinking of the sun as like this mean, cruel thing that's like, do this, otherwise there will be consequences. Do this, otherwise I will beat you. I will poke things in your eyes. Bad things will happen. The sun is really like a wonderful nutritional coach that is like, you need to change your trajectory. Eat like 3 bites of this. Then all of a sudden, you're on a different timeline, going in a different direction. And you've got what you need going on that timeline. You go on that timeline until you get your next directive. Then you're like, now you're going to have to eat 3 bites of this. And then that's going to take you in this direction, over to here. Everything begins to become an abstraction of light, as opposed to a merely silly, dead, foolish caloric intake. So to contrast and just reiterate, science looks at the plasma in the sky like that's a big, giant, stupid dead ball of plasma emitting these stupid, silly light particles called photons that just fly off everywhere, and they don't have any sense of self, and they don't have any pattern, don't have any meaning. And also when you boil water on your stovetop, the particles move faster, but not in a greater dance motion. And none of this means anything, and you're all just kind of silly. All right, that's that level of looking at the world. But I'm encouraging you to move up towards levels of virtuosity and to presume intelligence. Presume intelligence in your environment. It takes intelligence to recognize intelligence. So when you start to do that, you're like, the sun that's in the sky is not just a dead, stupid ball of plasma. It is an alive, sentient, incredibly intentional ball of plasma that is custom making a garment of light for me, that is being sent to me, and that of all of the events, possibilities, and probabilities that surround me that lead to continued light, there are all of these different, food is just very obvious, but behavioral choices, because sometimes it's how many walnuts should I eat, or sometimes it's should I stop what I'm doing right now and go for a walk down the street, Or should I wait and do that in 5 hours? Like, these are non-random behavioral life choices that are part of the guidance system of the cosmos that wants you to stay alive, wants you to be a successful time experiment, wants you to be able to listen joyfully. None of this is some kind of a slave ownership dynamic, slave owner, which is kind of what humans are coming out of in the relationship that they have had with God or divine presence. The sense of like, you know everything, I know nothing, just tell me what to do and I'll do it, which is very disempowering and rather disrespectful to yourself and to your own potentials. That what is shown as a positive amount of obeisance or humbleness, I think in many ways is a disrespect to you as you're supposed to be learning and growing and taking self-responsibility. So if you came into my art class and you're like, Aurora, I know nothing, you tell me what color to use, you tell me what to paint, you tell me what to do, I would be like, no. Like, let's renegotiate the dynamic here, because this is not right. Like, what I am here to teach you as an art teacher is, this is what a paintbrush is. This is what paints are. This is how you stretch a canvas. This is how you mix colors. These are techniques. And then this is how you can achieve your vision. But I am not here in order to dictate your vision to you. I'm not here to tell you what your favorite color is. I'm not here to make you act as an artist exactly like me. I am here to bring forward your greatest artistry and your greatest self-expression. That is the relationship and divine rapport that we have with God or creator consciousness, the sun and the stars, higher dimensional wisdom, and essentially yourself as an incredibly wise future creature. It's incredibly important for you to step up as an artist and claim the things that are important to you. If you're like, I don't like to paint paintings that have too much orange in them. Like, I like to, but what if your art teacher was like, today class, we will paint nothing but orange? I'd be like, I can't do that. I'm like, I need to have small amounts of orange, not 100% orange or anything. Music. What if I said, like, every note in your song needs to be a C? Play me only a song that's only made out of C. You would be like, Aurora, like, that's not what my heart says. And my music needs to express something more than that. I want you to stand up and I want you to advocate for yourself. And I want you to create the art project of your life, including your biological expression of your body in the way that your heart knows you need to create it. And in this sense, there's not a conflict where you're like, well, I want this for me, but I don't want to really say that to God. And God is something bigger than me. And so, like, I'm just going to say, like, dealer's choice, like, you tell me what to do. Have a relationship. When you have a relationship, me and my dog negotiate all the time. We go to town and I'm like, okay, we're going to go over here. And she's like, no. She's leading me on her leash. No, going to go over here. So then we're going to have to negotiate. And everybody in town watches us negotiate, where I'm talking to her. I'm like, well, I need to go over here and I need to buy this at the store. She's like, but I need to go over here and I need to sniff this lamppost and run around in the park over here. And then we work out our relationship and we end up both getting what we need. Because technically, when you get to these levels, you recognize, like, it's yourself that you're just negotiating with yourself. So I'm going to get to your questions and comments. But in my notes, what I do have is this sense of the great galactic center is a great thinker that is the conductor at the center of all of these stars. Every star has its own agenda. Every star is in rapport with its creation. And then what is sun gazing? You are a part of the sun. Your consciousness is connected to the sun. Your body is made up of constituent elements that either all came from this sun star or from one that has already lived and gone through its death process. So some of the atoms that are in our body are created in the death explosion of a star. And if those stars never died, we would not have the opportunity to live. So even though we live in this time of mortality, where we are now ascending, redefining what it is to be alive and avoiding death, coming from this world of mortality, we recognize that although we do not celebrate death or want it to happen, we honor the death of these organisms, including at the grandeur level of a star, that star's life, presence, and then death or absence gave rise to the molecular structures that we now have inside of us that give us life. So there is a narrative causality factor. You're going to want to be alive and have calcium. Guess what? It's going to have to be made in the furnace of a star that is in its moment of death. But we move into different levels of being where death is not necessary as the presumed substrate for future life. Please understand that too. Because we also are moving out of this world where, you know, in order to have a garden, you have to decompose stuff. You have to have some decomposed leaves or other plants that once lived and died, and now out of the ashes and death of those plants, you will get the next year, you will get the next crop and the next living, beautiful, life-sustaining, whatever, creation of matter. So there tends to be this presumption that is based upon the natural world that we see around us, but this is the natural world after death has been invented. So there is a time that we come from that might be in your cellular structure, might feel like an ancient time when nobody died. We did not die as humans. Plants and animals did not die ever. Stars did not die. And then you can say, Aurora, how did we have like calcium or some of these elements if nobody died? We were made of different types of stuff, and our whole entire cosmic structure was different, and we did not have seasons on this planet as we now have. Most time zones have 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, fall, with the sense of a time of death and loss, a time of rebirth, a time of sustenance, and a time of harvest. And that is pretty much the agricultural rhythm that has been programmed and into cultural expectations, personal expectations, and even the sense of who you are as a person. We talk about someone who is in the autumn of their life, like maybe they're 60 or 70 years old. They're like heading into the end of their life, but not quite in the season of death yet. That's not the true structure of reality, but we have normalized to that being the structure of reality. We have normalized to stars having a limited lifespan. But I invite all of you to be on the adventure of presuming that life is eternal and returning to that expression of a world where every organism is eternal, every star is eternal, and you are eternal. That's actually the true story that is being told. And this little bubble of mortality is like a story within a story that is not the true story, but yet we learn from being here. So there is a value to it. In my notes, I talk a lot about, okay, this is big, the inner sun. So you have this indigo chakra, which is your Christ consciousness chakra, and it relates to a place inside of your body at the top of your spine. So here's my spine coming upward. Here's this little pivot bone that's on there. And that's where my skull sits, right on top of there. And mostly the way to figure this out in your body, like if you kind of went like from the tops of your ears inward, from the bridge of your nose backwards, where those lines meet, that is where you will find the inner sun. It's roughly analogous to the location of your pineal gland, not directly analogous, but your brain is a fractal microcosm of the sun and the stars as neurological nodes on a much, much larger neurological system. Your thoughts and your desires and your consciousness matters or is significant. What you think is significant, and the sun and the stars hear it. And that as we reach these levels of attainment that I love to talk about, what we really end up doing is being fed and nourished and sustained and guided by the inner sun. So even if it's a cloudy or a rainy day and the outer sun out there, out the window, might be far away, or maybe it's darkness, or it's hard to see, it's not line of sight, direct communication between your eyes or your inner eyes and that sun, you have the sun internal inside of you. And everything that I remember about how our bodies were designed to originally work in ancient Atlantis was that we have or had a microclimate around us. That's your energy field, that you never feel hot or cold because you've got literally your own tiny little atmosphere that gives you oxygen and sustains you and gives you everything that you need. And then you have your own inner sun inside of your body that gives you light, consciousness, sustenance, light, ideas, awareness, light, guidance as to what you should be thinking, feeling, and doing behaviorally in each moment, and light, companionship, rapport, recognition, and validation on your journey. All of the things that we look to when we externalize light or a religious figure or a God out there. I joke about this. Somebody, is there anybody listening? Somebody up there, out there, like things are not okay down here. That level of, you know, a supplication or reaching for something or someone to have assistance, that still exists. But the only change is it exists in your interior. Your connection is interior, and it's something that can never be stolen or taken from you, can never be misappropriated, can never run out of steam. Again, this is how we're structured in the time beyond mortality, because in the time of mortality, suns and stars have limited lifespans where they have a certain amount of time of being able to create and generate light and do these chemical processes and sending tons of light and energy outward. And then at a certain point, they collapse inward and create the black hole and the singularity. But when you have this inner sun, it never runs out. It never runs out of gas or energy. It never collapses. It never dies. It sustains you eternally. It is the everlasting light source or divine energy source that is inside of you. You have it inside of you now. It is something that is either dormant or that must be rediscovered and reconnected to. It isn't, because it is an innate part of who you are. So, because you might be a little bit like, well, how do I get one? Where do I get one? Where do I shop? Sign me up. This offer not available in stores. I know we all want to have this. We attain this through our own spiritual aspirations, as you are spiritual aspirants, and as you align with the light of information that is coming from the external star, that is our sun, and the rest of the stars. Align with that light and with those, I use the word programs, again, in air quotes for lack of a better word, because this is not about a computer system, but you're part of a living biological supercomputer. And as you receive these, people call them light codes. That's kind of what the new age word for them is right now. It's a language of light, and it's an abstraction, abstract light patterns. As you receive these abstract light patterns from the seemingly external sun and stars, what they start to do is they start to tell you a story. And the story is actually something that I am translating for you as well. It's my job joy. So part of the story are the paintings that I've been already painting for you. Part of the story is the music that I make. Part of which is my rapport with the sun and the stars almost every day. And part of the story are the English translations, the flapping of my moving mouth parts as I'm telling you this information that is bringing you towards these levels of empowerment and self-realization. So like, what is a story? What is a narrative story? We begin once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a guy named, you know, John Smith, or insert your name here, please, Marie or Trish or Melissa. This once upon a time, there was the name of a person, and that person was experiencing blah, blah, and blah. And then one day they ate a sunbeam, and the light from the sun came inside of them. And it told them this information: you are made of light. You have a sun inside of you. It's necessary to cultivate your relationship with that sun star that is inside of you. Here is how you do it. And then the continual ingestion of that information stream that is not always translated as an English story, once upon a time, and then ends and they lived happily ever after, because it really at a certain point transcends our English language or Spanish or Chinese, whatever is your native language, because those are all inadequacies. I wanted to use the shorthand Tower of Babel because you know what I'm talking about. Human linguistics and phonetic sound symbols right now are almost totally inadequate to really share with you levels of cosmic truth, that it almost always gets distorted and mushed up and poorly represented, which is why I primarily have not been a writer, because if I knew all of these things and I was like, okay, I'll just write a book about it, it was never the way that it worked for me. It was always like, oh, I know all these things and I can draw a picture about it, because that just seems to be a more accurate portrayal of these cosmic truths. And I'm like, I can write a song about it, but my songs don't necessarily have lyrics, but they are definitely songs about the truth of the light that's coming to me and through me and then into you. When you align with the sun and the stars and you get all of this information in complete alignment, what happens is you receive the tailor-made, customized story of how you then transcend the need for physical food. No more physical coffee in your coffee cup, no more physical egg sandwiches or whatever it is that you eat for your breakfast in the morning, but instead, a never-ending story, a never-ending stream of information that comes to you from the sun and the stars that defines who you are and your relationship with the rest of the world. So wait, I have a beautiful teaching. This is level 1. That is a recording from way back when I lived in Woodstock 10 years ago, before the sun got distorted by Sun Simulator. And I actually loved looking back on that video because I was able to kind of re-imprint on that very innocent and bucolic time. You can check it out. It's part of the teachings on Teachable. It's called Sun Gazing on a Spring Morning. I'm sitting out in my old backyard. You can hear birds and you can see a beautiful, I think it's a magnolia tree blossoming behind me, and the sky is bright blue. Why do I bring this up? Because we have a lot of things in our world that have been impediments to our connection directly with the physical sun. And a lot of them have come up or been exacerbated within the past 10 years. I'm talking about aerosol sprays. And because this goes on YouTube, I'm just gonna, in air quotes, call it sky pollution. I hope my face and every level of your capacity to interpret my facial expressions and my exaggerated vocal tone tells you what I think about that euphemism and how valid it is. I talk about this a lot more in my Friday morning class that I've been doing for the past several weeks with a beautiful group of experiencers and fellow practitioners. The stuff that has been diminishing our direct contact, viewpoint of, and rapport with the sun that is in the sky. I call the sun in the sky the Lord of Light. I have no problem saying like, thank you to the Lord of Light. I'm growing these like sunflowers, you know, I'm growing all these beautiful seeds that are all sprouting outside. I'm like, thank you to the Lord of Light. Like, light is what makes it possible. Light is what makes our life possible. There have been antithetical interveners, interlopers that have been trying to prevent us from connecting effectively to light. Some of it is due to particulates that might be emitted into the atmosphere and stratosphere. Some of those particulates might not just lodge on the outside of your contact lenses, but might actually enter into the aqueous solutions inside of your eye, be affecting the signal strength of your optic nerve, and be lodged in your occipital cortex, along with various other bodily fluids. Not that pleasant to think about, but a genuine fact of life, as there are many things that have been limiting us that spiritual aspirants from other times and places did not face these challenges. So we need all of the help we can get from our amazing coherent family of light as to how do we successfully navigate this time and place now. So I look back longingly on that beautiful video. I'm like, oh, life was so much easier than you can tell by my face and my shoulders. My spine goes down a little bit. I'm like, oh, things were so much easier than I just sat in my backyard and I connected directly to the sun. It's more difficult now because there's all of these impediments and also many different lensing arrays, distortion technologies, distraction technologies, poo-poo caca yuckies, for lack of a better word, that I do not enjoy very much, that in order for me to get a really good sun gazing session, what I have to do is continually jump up and over, vibrate past the static on the line, tune in to the true signal of light from our beautiful consciousness giver in the sky. It takes definite effort. So it's just a little bit different than that beautiful, innocent time when I felt like without so much effort and without so much specificity, just the inevitability of the sun being there, that I could just be like, oh, light, information, light, information, light, information. Oh, I'm there. So let's talk about my initial way that I learned how to sun gaze. So first of all, 21 years ago when I came into this body, I was like, gonna do nothing but sun gaze. Didn't know about coffee, didn't know about coffee creamer, didn't know about milk and toast in the morning, didn't know about any of those things, thought that it was only about light, didn't understand, like, I'm doing my sun gazing. How come my body feels in this way? Which now you guys would say, like, that is because you have extreme hunger. I didn't know what hunger was, guys. I did not know. I'm like, what's this empty feeling here that's like, ow? I did not know about any of those things. So I had to learn, and then I learned by experiment, what are the things that you put into your body when you have that empty ow feeling, and how does it make your body go? But then, I've always continued my sun gazing practice in the early 2012s and things like that, 2014 or so. It became more difficult to do the sun gazing practice. And I noticed that when I moved to Northern California, much more difficult up there. A lot more, I call it sky poop. Pooping all over the sky, a lot of sky poop up there, that made it difficult to do my sun gazing. And that was when I had to level up my game, and I started to figure out different ways to vibrate past the clouds, the inhibitors, anything else that was out there. And so I've been doing that very consistently throughout the whole thing. So let me give you the teaching. In an ideal world, how do we do sun gazing? First, what I do is I sit either with you can stand, you can sit directly on the ground. If you're not going to get all wet and sit in a pile of mud, like, please don't do that. Don't ruin your pants or your dress or whatever. You can sit in a chair with the imagining and envisionment that your root chakra of your spine is connecting to the earth, all the way down to Earth's beautiful crystalline core. I like to sit with my legs folded kind of like a pretzel. It is called Indian style, but I do not know if that is culturally inappropriate to say that at this point. So I don't have a better way of describing it. Pretzel style. That's comfortable to my joints, but please be comfortable on your own joints. And I like to sit like that because it makes my lap kind of shaped like a bowl, a receptacle. Because what we do when we do sun gazing is we become a receptacle of light, and we do this intentionally. So sun gazing is different than sunbathing. I sunbathe too. I love to do that. I put on like jojoba oil and natural skin nourishing protectants and go out on a summer's day and kind of just lay out, and it feels so beautiful, and you get all of that light coming into you. But that's different. That's kind of like a more relaxed, lackadaisical way of ingesting light. This is very focused, and you keep your spine erect, and it is an intention and a use of your attention. So I talk about this in class a lot. Attenuos, from Greek, to reach out for, the tendril of your attention. In sun gazing, we reach out with the tendril of our attention, which touches upon and eats small amounts of whatever it touches upon in terms of being a questing aspect of that biological architecture. You send your tendril to the sun. If there's something blockading you, as there is right now, you have to get past that blockade. So you find a way to get your tendril to go past that blockade. So I put my tongue on the roof of my mouth, kind of in my palate behind my teeth, but some people put it far back into their soft palate. There's many, many teachings from the tradition of yoga all about this. And they've been doing this for over 10,000 years, 60,000 years. Boy, they are amazing. These are the teachers from Asia and the Himalayas. And there's a beautiful social tradition there of these organized teachers and cultural heritage teaching people how to do sun gazing. And what they do is there's all of these different ways of like where you place your tongue on the roof of your mouth and what you're doing. Figure out what works for your own body. I've been doing this completely intuitively, and then later on getting the confirmation of the more previously established cultural heritage that's already ongoing. The main thing is, this is also sometimes known as breatharian. Sun gazing and breatharian go together. The breath is said to ingest chi or prana. It is the ingestion of light. So your eyes, your nose, your face, these are all connected, not disconnected at all. Your sinuses here under your eyes and up here above your eyes are receptacles for light. When I do sun gazing, I not only send out my tendril of attention to the sun and drink it in, I also breathe in very specifically using an exaggerated face. And don't be afraid to look silly. And you can look silly in my class all that you want to. No one is judging you. Kind of as if you were sniffing a rose. Like I kind of even purse my lips, kind of stick my nose out like I'm really sniffing it, except I'm not smelling a rose that is in front of me here. I am breathing in the life force energy from the sun. So it's two things. The sun light is coming into me, but I'm also breathing it in and drawing it in. The drawing in, this is all esoteric or non-physical. So it's different than like, I'm inhaling into my lungs. I am inhaling into my lungs, but I'm also breathing in, using my body of pure light and intention and awareness. It is the most natural thing in the world for me to do this. I do it spontaneously when I'm hungry. I also do it as a practice every morning. I set my alarm here. It's usually around 7:15 or so. So I set my alarm at 7 so that I'm able to get up in time to come to the window here as the sun is coming through the trees. That is the perfect time to do sun gazing. You want the light to be slightly filtered because you don't want to like burn yourself in any way. You don't want to fry your consciousness by overwhelming yourself with too much information. You don't want to fry your retinas. I almost always tell people to do safe sun gazing, which means you close your physical eyes. You get all the light. You don't need to get the physical light through your eyeballs. You're getting the non-physical light into your inner eye. And so it's essential to make a distinction between these two things. But you start to focus the inner eye. I also feel it like from the back of my head, coming forward through the front of my forehead, connecting and aligned to the sun, which is connected to all of the stars, and then feel this amazing beam of light coming inside of me as I breathe in this very exaggerated way. I feel the energy not only going into the bridge of my nose, kind of circulating up and around my eyebrows, above my cheekbones here, and then coming down my sinuses, back of my throat, into my belly and my digestive tract, all the way down into the bowl that is the receptacle of my lap. It's a hybrid of my physicality presence, because sometimes I feel like the light is substantive and like, oh, like I feel like it's the texture of pudding, like coconut pudding, like swallow it down, swallow it down. And sometimes, I feel like it's a substantive energy that is coming into me, almost to the point like when you have a glass, filling up that glass, the more glug, 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 the more water you pour into the glass, the higher the level of light or liquid information goes in your body. But all of this is analogous, not direct analogy, because I want you to know, like, if you fill up your glass only halfway, it doesn't mean like, oh no, like only I only filled up my chest and nourished up to here, like my torso is not going to get nourished by the sun. Like, no. Every aspect of you is getting nourished by the sun. Every cell of your body is being nourished by the sun, but it means that you didn't turn up the volume all the way. You want to turn up the volume of your light body. And when for me, it usually depends on how hungry I am for light. I breathe it in. I breathe it in again. I often feel my chest becomes lifted. Breathe it in again, filling it up to this level. Breathe it in again, all the way up to this level. Now you can tell I'm kind of like up above my head. From that moment of being completely filled in, you have a couple of options. One is like a direct connection from the top of your head out the top of your head again to the sun and the stars. And then you just made like a loop from the sun to you, all the way up through you, back to the sun, direct loop. I used to teach about an ankh, which is where you kind of come up, out through the top of your head, inward through the back of your head, and then out through the front of your eye. But I'm not sure if that is still relevant, as I have subsequently seen with my inner vision that sometimes the ankh was used as a consciousness suppression tool. Kind of like, oh, you're not ready to go all the way up and back to the sun, so we're just going to make you loop around a little bit until you're ready. And I don't want to tell anyone that they have to loop around. And I used to do looping around, but I don't really do it that way anymore. Again, everything has changed. Things have changed in my own body processes and the structuring of our world and what is appropriate. So please do these exercises as you feel it is appropriate or relevant to your journey. You can go directly up, you can ankh around. One thing also that I always used to do was a tilting upwards. So like up, 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 up. And then as the energy came out through the top of my head, I should tilt this for you here. Oops. I would tilt up my chin, go up like this, so that then it would come inward through the back of my head, up through here, and then outward like that. And sometimes I still do that, but I don't always feel compelled to do that. So really, you have to listen to yourself. Like, it's exactly like if I gave you something that was a food and you're like, and I told you like, oh, like chew it up and swallow it down. You're like, how many chomps should I take? Like, you will know. You will know, like chomp, 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 chew it up more, now swallow it down, or just chomp, chomp, chomp. Like, you will feel it internally. So these are all guidelines. You will feel the unique presences internally, but here are the basic practices. I do that in the morning as part of my practice, and also the infrared or red shifted light that comes from the sun in the morning is essential to the health of your retinas and to the health of your mitochondria. So I also, because it's been very cold and dreary here, not a lot of light and not a lot of being outside with my bare skin, got a red light panel that I was using before I even would get out of bed, and put that up above my head, on my face, on my chest, on my belly, moving down like 5 minutes on each little position. So that way I would get some of this light into me. Light is intimately connected to the health, functionality, and energy emittance and generation of your tiny subcellular organisms that are known as mitochondria. Mitochondria are light-based beings, and they are very similar in terms of organelles inside of us to the chloroplasts that are inside of plants that make photosynthesis possible. Mitochondria are your friends, your allies. They are essential for life. Love them, hug them, thank you, talk to them internally, and give them red light. So what does red light do for mitochondria? Each, just on a science objective materials level, every one of these mitochondria has like these little spinning, whirling energy centers that are kind of like motors. And when they don't have enough infrared light, they're sluggish because they're moving, the medium is very viscous. And when you give them infrared light, which actually penetrates beyond just the surface of your skin, but deep into your muscles, it warms you up deep inside, and it makes your body fluids less viscous, more watery, there's less resistance, and it makes it possible for these little energy generators inside of you to spin faster with less resistance, something like 80,000 times faster. They spin so much faster and so much more easily and produce so much more energy with less effort when you give them this red light, infrared light. So ideally, we would go outside naked, get the early morning sunlight on our bodies, get that infrared light, and our little tiny mitochondria would be spinning fast and we'd be super happy. Most people do not live in a social circumstance where you can do that without being arrested. So it's absolutely essential to observe social normative cultural pretexts here. And don't run outside naked. And that's why I use one of these wonderful red light panels that makes it possible for me to get all this beautiful red light on me, especially in the winter time when it might be a little bit harder to be able to do it. And also do it for a brief period before I go to sleep at night. It does not give me insomnia, quite the opposite. Lots of good studies of the red light at the end of the day, giving your body the cellular signals that it's time to go to bed and to start time to go to sleep, and also to start doing body cleanup. So you get two different programs or pieces of information from the sun. You wake up in the morning, do your daily sun gazing, you get all of your directives for the day, go through the day, do all sorts of fun adventures, and then I try to do this every day that it is possible. Sometimes this class, no offense to you guys, but sometimes my schedule here interferes a little bit because the sun was going down at like 4:30, very early in the day, and I would still be in class here, and I'd be looking out the window, be like, I'm missing the last rays of sunlight of the day. I have to be able to make my appointment with the sun. Because what you do when you sun gaze at the end of the day is I sit, even if it's for a few moments, in rapport with the sun, and I give back like a reading of what I did and what I experienced. Sun's like, okay, you should draw this picture and you should do this, this, and this. And at the end of the day, non-verbally, I beam back to the sun. I'm like, I did this and I experienced this. I went here and I did this and I did this. And then the sun receives that from me and is able to know in real time what I've been experiencing. And then I get the upgraded light codes, which might be what I'm going to dream about that night, or what I'm going to think about in my reveries, or information to my body structure. Like as I'm getting into my pajamas, my body is like, oh yeah, we're going to clear out the liver tonight, or we're going to rebalance your kidneys tonight, or we're going to clean out your cerebral spinal fluid tonight. Like whatever person fixer-upper projects of the person house that you're in, your body gets those informations from the sun and the stars. You get it? The sun tells you a story of continued longevity. And part of that story is cleanup and body maintenance, which also ideally, I've talked about this too. I don't practice it every day, but ideally a couple of times a week, I do something called autophagy or autophagy, AUTOPHAGY, which is basically when you stop eating when the sun goes down. Like eat your main protein meal around 5 or 5:30 p.m. and then do not eat additionally after that time until at least like 12 or 14 hours go by. And that time of not ingesting calories, especially glucose, has your body switch over into cleanup mode, where your body's like, oh, I don't have to digest anything. Great. I've got a ton of energy. Let's clean up the joint. And that's what your body does. So all of your cells go around and be like, cancer, you're out of here. Fragmented DNA, you're out of here. Clean up, stuff it all in the hefty bag, get it out of here. None of that stuff is supposed to be inside of you. And then you wake up in the morning after your body's done this wonderful cleanup system, you get rid of everything that's not supposed to be there. And then you do your sun gazing again, and the sun gives you your directives for the day. Then you eat your physical food, then you live your life. Then at the end of the day, you do your sun gazing again. You get your directives for health and vitality for the night. This is how we're supposed to be living our lives. Let me just get a little drink here. This is how we are supposed to be ideally living our lives. And of course, it's not always possible. Like sometimes I have a crazy schedule and I'm eating my main meal at 8 p.m. That's when I get home, that's when it's possible. So I want you to know, like, be in love with yourself, be in radical love and forgiveness with yourself. If you're able to do this even 1 or 2 times a week, it's fantastic for you. And yeah, it helps a lot in terms of anti-cancer, because I said, put the cancer in the hefty bag, get it out of your body, broken DNA and stuff like that. Also excellent in terms of anti-aging, because when you do autophagy, your body goes into the creation of stem cells. And then when you wake up in the morning and you are exposed to that beautiful infrared first light of the day, it goes to all of your stem cells. Stem cells are cells of healing potential that your body makes. So boom, when you do weightlifting, your body makes stem cells. It's like, oh, my arm is tired. I'm gonna need to make some more cells to make that arm stronger. Stem cells. Stem cells come forward in your face. Like they make your your old cells get exfoliated away, stem cells come forward from the lower layers. They make sure that you still have a face. Stem cells are in every part of your body. They are the regenerative aspect of your body. So you create these stem cells usually overnight, and then in the morning when you do your sun gazing, that's when you get all this energy, and a lot of it is the sun giving you your directives on a cellular level, telling your stem cells, oh, good, like I see that you just got born, you're gonna have to go here and fix this, and then you go here and fix this, and then you go here and fix this, and this person is gonna not only merely stay alive like a wretched, wreck, like a jalopy, but stay alive in an excellent way. This is what I mean when I say that the creator of your body, factory settings, incredibly level of divine intelligence and goodness, gave you a vehicle that actually has the potential through cellular regeneration to comfortably last for many hundreds of years. And I mean hundreds of years and maybe even thousands of years, but this is also in an ideal world that is considered very different than where we presently live in terms of light pollution, blue light that comes from the computers, 5G, Bluetooth, sky poops, and other things that tend to take down our vitality. So do the best you can. You will be more than met halfway by assistance from the lords and ladies of light, the coherent light family that are helping all of us. One thing you can also do to really help yourself in terms of light ingestion is limit the amount of the blue light from the computers that you're exposed to. So, and use incandescent light bulbs in your house as much as you can, even though I know that they're something of an anachronism in our world at this point. So everything that I have, like my iPad and my phone, I can go to the settings where it says display and brightness, and I can go to where it says night shift, and I can say manually enable. Click that button, and you can make it as yellow as you wish. So instead of being this bright bluish white light that is beaming to me out and makes me squint to beaming at me out of my computer, it becomes a warm goldish yellowish light. And unless I'm doing some kind of graphic design where everything has to be true colors, then I don't mind it. And you'll see you'll get a lot less eye strain. It's a lot better and easier for you. Do that all day long. Don't ingest this blue light. And you can also get glasses that are, they don't look weird. They just look like regular clear lenses, but that they block out the blue light so that you are not overstimulating your retina with blue light, and your retinas actually do recharge and regenerate their rods and their cones so that your eyesight stays sharp and colorful and true. You do not have to have macular degeneration going into your older age, but you have to give your eyes time to regenerate. That means not only when you're asleep at night with your eyes closed, but when you're awake during the day, but not looking at blue screens. And mostly everybody awake during the day, I'm looking at a computer screen for several hours a day. Some people look at a TV several hours a day. Some people stare at their phone incessantly. Some people stare at their iPad incessantly. No offense to any of these things. There's things that we can do, because sometimes I'm awake at 11 p.m. doing my emails because that's when I have a chance. Again, like life isn't always perfect. Red shift your electronics so that the light is yellowish instead of blue. Get one of those blue blocking lenses that you can wear. And then also in terms of the physical sunlight out there, it's actually not ideal to wear sunglasses, even though the sun's rays do contain UVA and UVB, which science says, cancer, don't get UV. The truth is that UVA plus infrared light helps to regenerate the cells and the photosensitive materials that are in your retina that make it possible for you to ingest light. You want that UVA along with infrared light. Much better for you actually to ditch the sunglasses. So these are absolutely aspects of what I talked about today in class to synopsize. The connections between your physical material body, which is made of matter that has slowed down light, the world of material science, things that we can look at and observe with our five senses in terms of optical light, your non-physical light body that is made out of pure thoughts, pure consciousness, probabilistic fields of energy and timelines and abstract awareness, and your connection to the physical light of the sun and the stars, physical light of artificial light in your reality, the light of awareness and truth, that is the light of wisdom and spiritual attainment that we all try to surround ourselves with and bathe within. Ideally, as you are getting up to these levels of unity consciousness, you begin to get past the threshold of seeing distance between yourself and the sun and the stars, and you move into levels of accuracy, where you recognize that not only is there no distance between yourself and these emitters of light, they're not far away in space, they're not far away in time, and you're moving at the same rate as they are. You're a piece of light moving at the speed of light, submerged within an ocean of light. And that begins to become a real miracle of your consciousness. And when you get up to those levels, you have a different value system that is much more in alignment with my value system as I portray it as Aurora, consciousness collective outside of space, time, and consciousness. So where I come from, and not to have so much attitude, because I'm always like this, well, where I come from, it's like this. I don't mean to be that way with so much attitude. But where I come from, you don't have to have a sense of quid pro quo and bank account. Like, hey, I loaned you 5 units of light last Thursday. You better give it back to me now. Like, pay up. I got to pay my electric bill. It is not like that. It is not like that at all. When I do my flying rainbow lasagna dance, I achieve these levels of a return and re-embodiment of the speed of light, where light energy is coming to me from the sun and the stars. It is entering into me. It is part of the ecosystem of light that I am submerged within, and it flows through me. I don't have to be as limiting when I'm on an ego level, when I have to titrate what I'm sending out to others. Like, here's me, when in the physical regular world of dollars, when somebody sends me a payment of $100, I'm like, okay, I'm going to send you $5, and then grocery store, I'm going to send you $25, and I'm going to get this and that. An electric company, I'm going to send you this many dollars, and you, I'm going to send you this many dollars. Like, you know, you have $100, that's your energetic budget, and then you have to slice it up and choose, like, okay, this goes to you, this goes to you, then this goes into my savings account, and that would be there, if I always joke about this, for my Geico car insurance. I come from a very different place where you don't have to do that. You receive 100 units of energy and you're like, awesome, I just got 100 units of energy. I don't have to, what's the word? Like, not machinate, but I don't have to calculate. I don't have to be like, okay, 5 units of light to you, 25 to you, going to save this in the bank account because I'm going to need it on January 31st to pay a particular bill. You don't have to plan like that. Everything is spontaneous, everything is in the moment, and you can be in a state of total generosity. Now, I don't tell you to be in that state of total generosity in this level of ego boundaries, because if you were, you might run the risk of becoming indigent, having no place to live. Because if you're like, oh, great, like I just got paid 100 or 1,000 or 2,000 or $5,000, and you have no boundaries and you give it out to everyone else, that is very saintly and that is very beautiful. But then the bank comes along and the bank says, hey, remember, you got to pay me either my mortgage or my rent. And you're like, oh, don't you know, like I just was in a state of total boundarylessness and gave that to all these lovely people. And the bank is going to be like, that's great. Like, you can get out, you can go live in a cardboard box someplace, or pitch a tent in a field. And so the bank has like no conscience and no sense of righteousness at all. It's a problem, the breakdown at that level of ego boundaries. So at the level of reality situation that we're coming out of, please maintain your ego boundaries. That means not only in terms of banking, car insurance, and other stuff like that, but and also with those who have not yet learned the lesson. Because I learned this also, if you're totally in the level of pure generosity that I love to be in the world where I come from, there are some of those who would exploit you for that. They'd be like, hey, I'd like to take from you 100% of what you have and then return to you 0%. And that is not acceptable, because everything about the flow of energy is being in a rapport, give and take, give and receive. So what I am practicing and modeling for others is in the realm of material objects, where we buy coffee cups and coffee creamer and all of these, physical things that sustain us. I pay for what I use joyfully and joyously. Goods and services I pay for joyfully and joyously, and I even say it with my words. Like, you're in the store and you use your card or your cash, and you are giving it to the cash register. Say thank you, like thank you to the cosmos, or I pay joyously. Definitely when someone does a service for me, like you go to the chiropractor, they make your back feel better, you pay them, and as you're paying for them, you say to them, thank you, like, thank you for helping my back, I feel very much better, I pay you joyfully and joyously for this. And then also when I receive, you make this your mantra, you say, oh, I receive in gratitude. Someone has just paid me, a payment has come into my PayPal account, money has come into my bank account. So, or someone whatever bartered with me and they sent me some item that I needed. I receive in gratitude. These are like the precursors, the baby steps to what it actually feels like when you're a being of pure light in an ocean of pure light, where this is what this story is like. From the sun and the stars and all that is light, I receive in gratitude. So much love, so much gratitude, like being grateful for my body, my consciousness, my awareness, consciousness itself, to backbend and get back to the beginning of this teaching, Christ consciousness itself. I am so happy and grateful to be alive, to be aware, have consciousness, and be able to be on life's adventure, and to receive this light, and to have a body, and to have mitochondria, and to have all these things flowing through me. And then also, as I'm receiving so joyfully, I'm also sending out so joyfully. And that for me, I'm playing my music so joyfully, playing my music so joyfully, like I literally sing all throughout the day and drive everyone around me crazy because I'm singing so much, sending it out joyfully, teaching people that tune into my videos, making my paintings, doing my dance movements, even while I walk along with my dog. You know what I'm always saying to her? Like, good job, keep going, you can do it. Like I'm continually encouraging her and anyone else, that any of these other joggers that are around us, we're not always jogging, but we're where everybody exercises. I'm saying to my dog, like, good job, keep going. But everyone else around me hears it too. I'm like, yeah, you too, good job, keep going. Hugely, hugely, hugely important. And that is what it's really like at that level of existence. And at that level of existence, where you also have an inner sun that you have aligned with and that sustains you totally, you don't have to worry about ever running out of stuff. Like here in my house right now, I'm like, do I have enough coffee for tomorrow morning? Am I going to run out of this or that? Do I have enough eggs? Do I have enough this and that? We have limitations. And that also makes you be like, well, I better not eat 12 eggs at a time. I better eat just like 2. And that way I have enough for 6 days. But when you have the inner sun blazing inside of your own mind, you don't have to be like, wow, I hope I should really only drink 2 sunbeams today because I want to make sure that I have, enough for the rest of the week. Like you can drink as much light and information as you want to. And you know what that equates to in your life experience? More knowing, more wisdom, more information, greater perspective, knowing more, greater capacitation, greater levels of empowerment. And the more light that you eat from that inner sun, the more that you know what to do and where to go and how to be sustained and how to joyfully continue to go through your life experience. You are literally like buoyed up and supported by all of that light, information, awareness, and that story that is coming inside of you and coming through you. So what is coming off of the sun is more than just solar radiation, like X-rays and gamma rays. It is awareness and timelines and a source of ideas. In a materialistic sense, those ideas can be very life-giving. Imagine the first guy that ever invented a coffee cup. He's like, I have all this liquid, but I have no way to actually save it or drink it effectively. But the first guy that ever thought like, dun dun, bum, 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 bum. What if I make a cup? What if I make something that can hold something and then I can take it and carry it with me away from the river or away from wherever the liquid is, and then I can have some later. Like these are great ideas that help you to sustain your physical cellular structure. Or maybe in our modern age, as coffee cups have already largely been invented and explored, you will receive a different innovation information that will tell you, bum, 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 bum. This is Thus Spake Zarathustra. That's the song that I'm referring to from 2001: A Space Odyssey. The idea, dun, dun, bum, 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 bum. This is what I'm going to do, like the earth-shattering idea. Inspiration, information will come to you that's as amazing as a coffee cup. that will tell you, well, if I do this, then something great will happen and I'll be able to keep on sustaining myself and staying alive. And that we do these materialistic things to keep our bodies alive. And sometimes it's a physical item that we maintain, but sometimes the innovation that we create and that we sustain and explore is an abstract concept or an energy behavior that sustains us and makes it possible for us to do something as revolutionary as put water from a river into a receptacle and then be able to carry it many miles away and still have it later. We can do something like flying rainbow lasagna that is as revolutionary in terms of being able to do something different with our bodies to be able to do more and stay alive more effectively. So that's part of the new ideas, inspiration, new possibilities. And many of them are life-giving and life-sustaining, and they help you to transcend the discomforts or the limits of the physical material world. So the esoteric practices is sun gazing. That's one thing, and I talk extensively in the notes. I sent out the notes to everyone who's a participant. Connection between sun gazing and sexual satisfaction or orgasm. These are similar energetic practices, although sun gazing does not involve a partner other than the sun. And although we recognize orgasm as a sexual energy, it is life force energy, and it has to do with procreation or that spark, that moment of literally creating a new life. When you are in the relationship with the sun and the stars and you do your sun gazing, it is an intimate relationship. It is a cosmic lovemaking. It is the ideal of everything that lovemaking is supposed to be. So I'm aware at this point in my journey here in this world that many relationships are fraught. They are out of balance. Sometimes sexual dynamics can be exploitive or uncomfortable. So please leave those aside in our definition of what lovemaking is. But in the most ideal sense, lovemaking between yourself and the sun as a partner for you is generating new life that is a life circumstance. So you can imagine like a man and a woman come together, conceive a baby. The baby is the next generation. The baby comes out of its mother and then becomes its own individuated person. What you are doing as either a man or a woman in your partnership with the sun and the stars is creating a rapport, procreating, making a new moment, making a new time and reality structure out of your love, out of your devotion to one another. This is an idealistic love that is totally respectful and totally non-exploitive and totally loving and totally giving and in total generosity of what love truly is, giving in graciousness and receiving in graciousness without any of the unhealthy sexual dynamics that we experience in the physical realm and even, sexual dysfunctions and violences. All of that, throw it out the window. It does not relate to this level of rapport, including jealousy. If there is one plasma sun in the sky, does that mean that you only get to have one partner on Earth and everyone else like, no, like you get away from my sun. That's my sun in the sky. Like I'm a jealous spouse and I'm the only one who's allowed to connect with the sun in the sky. No, it is not like that. That sun in the sky is all of you. And it is for all of you to connect with that sun. And it is for all of you to create this amazing next generation. Generative, genesis, generation all have the same root word. The generative force field known as God. Verbally, you are godding with God and you are using your cognitive abilities and your own physical body structure and your generative abilities, which also include your reproductive organs and your spine, to be able to do this with the sun. So the orgasm that you feel when you sun gaze, because you have energy coming up your root chakra, up your spine, all the way up to here, and then out through the top of your head, it's similar to physical orgasm or sexual satisfaction that you achieve with a partner or on your own, but not synonymous with, not interchangeable with, that it is closer to what the teachings of Asia and Himalayas call your Kundalini rising. And some people have this spontaneously just from their meditation practices or just from being in the presence of a great one, when it's kind of, I think it's called Shakti boom, just like sitting without touching your body in any way in the presence of someone who is great, just kind of causes like energy kapows to go up your, that's not their word for it, but it's kind of like kapow, like, you know, an explosion coming up your spine. That is quite enlightening, but also you must be prepared for it, because if people have these boom kapows when they're very destabilized, sometimes it can bring up a lot of their detritus, their soul fragments and things they've done that are challenges in their life that they haven't integrated yet. So it's a very, very brief aside. Someone that I know from back in my Woodstock days, Dalai Lama visited Woodstock. You can say a lot of things about Dalai Lama. It's a whole conversation on its own. I'll just be like super respectful and neutral here and say that the Dalai Lama carries a huge amount of energy, profound spiritual truth from his lineage and everything he's connected to. And it's great, revered greatly, and gave a teaching at like the little baseball field in Woodstock. The whole entire town, we all got off of work, shut down, put down our blankies on the grass, went out there and sat in the presence of the Dalai Lama, including this one friend that I know who is ex-military, had a lot of unresolved personal traumas, a lot of unresolved violences that I think that they still hold very deeply in regret in their life. And they definitely got a boom of enlightening energy up their spine, but they hadn't yet resolved all of these things. And it became very destabilizing, wibbly wobbly all over. It took them many years to actually integrate everything that they had experienced from that moment of being in the presence of this very highly revered, very highly refined level of consciousness. So that is what I'm trying to talk about. Like, you get your garden, if you have a garden hose with like a twist in it and you put a lot of water through it, like it's just gonna make the whole thing go crazy. Get your garden hose into nice, perfect spirals before you turn on the faucet full blast, so that way the energy will flow through the energy centers of your body effectively. But that's what this life force energy is. It's creative life force energy, is the generative energy, generative, not degenerative. It is the generative energy that is very positive and non-degenerate in terms of sexuality. And I define degenerate sexuality as all these inversions that I most speak to in our world, anything from sexual violence to non-consensual sexuality to sexual projection upon inappropriate partners. That can be someone who's too young, or someone who's not interested, or someone who's already in relationship, or an animal or a sock puppet. Those are all degeneracies, and that the true nature of your sexuality and your creative life force energy is to procreate, to create new people with people that you love, or to create new reality structures with, in this case, I want to say people that you love, but in this case, it's the sun stars that are out there, that we exist here to be in this beautiful partnership with the sun and the stars to create new reality structures, to improve our lives, our health, our body, and restructure the entire social dynamic of everything that is around us. So I just want to make sure, giving birth to a new reality, literally sitting down and performing these practices means you are beginning to cultivate your reality. And what you're doing is connecting the singularity within and the singularity that is external. And that is also a lot of what Flying Rainbow Lasagna is. Sun as benevolent higher consciousness, the solar wind as the benevolent thoughts of a higher being that keeps harmful events at bay and shelters life that lives on smaller planets within its thought system. That's what the heliosphere does. There's all sorts of space junk and debris out there. There's like comets, meteors, just call it space crapola, whatever it is, rocks flying through space. If we didn't have the sun's heliosphere and the solar wind, which is this benevolent thought structure of the sun, we would get beamed by comets all the time, and you would not be able to have the delicate world that we know as biological multicellular life, because it takes a little while for us to have the stability to be able to be here and build a life and build ecosystems if you're constantly getting, rocked by different debris from space. So the sun is, the solar wind is like an umbrella of benevolent thoughts, that the sun is thinking protective thoughts of us, of you and me, That's not only around our planet, it's around our entire solar system. And the sun does think protective thoughts about you as an individual. Like, yeah, she's getting in her car, she's going to go drive on down the road to the store. I'm going to put a protective force field around that car while she's driving, so that way you get to the store, you do everything you need to do and return home safely. Where does consciousness come from? It comes from the source, and it comes from the singularity, which is located in the sun. And the sun is like a crucible from which is created all of the atomic elements that make up the physical body. I already talked to you about that. And traveling to the sun. What does it feel like when you travel to the sun? Okay, so wait, because you go through consciousness portals. So you are on a journey of consciousness. And wait, let me just read this back a little bit more. So the solar wind emanated itself so that life on Earth might be cultivated. And you are constantly broadcasting back the essence of your journey back to the giant ball of awareness in the sky. You are on a journey of consciousness, and the sun is like a giant witness, a giant eye in the sky watching your life as you live your life, as you telepathically broadcast back your experience of borrowing these heavy elements and living on a planet in order to have the experience of being conscious. I might have to pause this for one moment. Hold on one moment, guys. 1 moment's pause. Back to my notes. Okay, so the mental comprehension that you need in order to go through these consciousness portals, that traveling on the stars or on the stellar network system, this is not the type of travel that requires a clank metal spaceship. Now we really get into it, how experts do star travel. This is consciousness journeying that happens when magnetic field lines cross. So this is what magnetic field lines are shaped like. And we have this that is the shape of the Earth. And then we have, hold on a second here. This is the sun. The sun would actually be so giant that it would be the size of this entire room. But this fits inside of this. And there are special places where there are crossing points. If you can see that, imagine those two loops crossing. Where those loops cross together, I broke my sculpture a little bit because they're really delicate. Where they cross together, these magnetic field lines, there are consciousness portals, and they open up so that you can travel to the source of this consciousness broadcast. And so this is all about the journey of how you journey back to the sun and how you journey on the stellar network, and how do experts do star travel without a clank metal spaceship. What does it feel like when you travel to the sun? All of the energy coming off of the sun is in perfect alignment with my chakras. So first of all, I say when you travel to the sun or on the stellar network, you must travel light. You do not bring any baggage. Do not bring your carry-on bags. You don't bring anything except for your consciousness, your birthday suit. And as I showed you in this original thing from the beginning of this class, this is your light body. And it is made of standing waves and perfectly coherent light. And when you travel to the sun is also made of these perfectly organized light waves. That music, the perfectly organized light waves, known as the music of the sun, fits harmonically. Come on, notes down over here. Fits harmonically with the notes of you. Here's the music of the sun, and here's the music of you. Fit perfectly within the music of the sun, and perfectly integrate you. When I say you travel light with no baggage, that means that all the things that aren't you don't come with you. Leaving your trauma behind, the unreal definitions of self. The things that aren't really you don't come with you. They don't come with you, yeah, but the real music of you is what comes with you. So it might have been such a long amount of time since you've known what the music of you really is, but it's who you are when you came here as a little tiny child. It's who you are when you are nonverbal, when you are a pre-verbal infant, when you go into meditative states and you are, turning off your verbalized mind, when you go beyond your cultural conceptions and the things that they taught you at school and religion, when you live your deeply held beliefs and the things that you just have to be and have to do. That's the real you. That's the real you. That's you as an organized set of light waves that is the essence of you. When you travel through the star, you don't have to be afraid of dying. You might be like, oh no, I'm going to lose all these things that are important. Like I'm going to lose my dress. It's not important. I'm going to lose my earrings. They are not important. I'm going to lose my coffee cup. It's not important. Those are not the definition of the real you. The definition of the real you is the characteristics and who you are that are eternal, the things that you came here with and the things that you cultivated as gifts. And also, most importantly, the love that you have sent out and cultivated and received back from others. That is part of the eternal music of you. Love is part of the eternal music of you. The love that you sent out to others is part of the eternal music of you, and it comes with you no matter where you go, no matter where you go. And that's what it is to go through a portal in the sun, that you don't lose anything that is important. You lose stuff that is temporary, things that are aspects of your ego that you might want to define as you, but really you are the most loving things that you've ever done or experienced in your journey here as an individuated piece of self. And those are the things that go through the star. Those are the things that go through the star, and they come with you and you go into another level of reality. Let me get to your questions in the chat. Yeah. All right. Way back here, Pedro asked this an hour ago, says, if I tried to travel using the Merkaba without being ready, would I make it to my chosen destination, make it end up somewhere else short of my destination, or would just not be able to travel? What a great question. Absolutely fantastic. So I would say that if you were not ready, either you would not leave this reality structure, or you would enter into like a slightly shifted interim reality structure. If you're like, my goal is to be on timeline X, where I will be whatever, a marathon runner, and I'm going to get in my Merkaba, fly directly there, but you only switch timelines a little bit, and you look at the muscles of your legs. You're like, something like you're going to have to do a lot more muscle building exercises before you're on the timeline where you're a marathon runner. There are some real biological considerations about how quickly reality can shift, or what it takes for you as an experiencer to change your definition of reality and go in a more expansive direction. So sometimes when you say without being ready, sometimes it is about physical architecture. Sometimes it is about emotional architecture. For some people, it might be like, oh, great, I'll wave my magic wand and you're ready to go into a fantastic fairyland where everything is cool and there's no worries at all. Like, but wait, but what about this and this and this? It's like, something, you might need to resolve this and this and this before you're ready to go into that completely magical fantasy land. That's not a punishment. It's not a punishment to say like, oh, you need more leg muscles before you're ready to be on the marathon timeline. Because otherwise, if we just stuck you there and you're all of a sudden at the starting point of the Boston Marathon and you have to run and you look at your leg muscles and they're like, they're not big enough. I need to train for a year. What a loving cosmos would do is be like, put that guy on a timeline where he's going to do muscle building exercises for a year and then run the marathon. Maybe it's not a marathon, maybe it's run a business. And maybe you're like, something, I have a dream and I want to get in my Merkaba and go directly to the dream where I'm running a multi-million-dollar business of whatever, making apple pies. And maybe you're not ready for it. But not ready doesn't mean like you're not a good person. Maybe it just means like, look, you need to learn about this. How do you run a business? How do you have a business plan? How do you have managerial skills and manage your employees? How do you source ingredients? How do you do your taxes? Like all of these things are necessary to run a successful apple pie company. You might need to do some inner muscle building in order to be able to get to that destination. So you wouldn't just end up like floating in nowheresville. You wouldn't get punished is what I'm trying to say. In all of these efforts, please know that you will be protected lovingly by the cosmos, that sometimes the answer isn't no, it's not yet. And I was talking with someone this morning about this too. A lot of people had letdown and disappointment from the experience of December 21st, 2012. Everyone's like, we're gonna ascend, we're going in a good direction, and then wah-wah. My shoulders went down. I thought we were getting total enlightenment today, and now we're not. I thought I was going to get ice cream, and now instead my ice cream fell on the ground, and I don't have anything to answer eating my ice cream, and I'm sad. But the answer wasn't no. It was not ice cream on the ground. The answer was not yet. And for me, because I'll tell you just anecdotally, where was I on December 21st, 2012? I was in Woodstock in my art studio, which was a very, very simple physical structure that was not very fancy or anything like that, that I had been painting in for a long time and had not yet shared my ideas and energy with the world in a set of formal classes. I hadn't really even learned a lot about music and how to express myself through music. And I thought, like, hooray, we're going to jump off into vast, expansive realms of pure imagination on 2012. And we didn't. And I was a bit disappointed, but what I said was, well, okay, we're here in this context. I'm gonna start my class, figure out some way to articulate these, call myself a professor, put out a shingle. That's what they say, you know, like you name yourself whatever you're going to be, start a thing. I started a thing. I'm Professor Aurora, and this is my class. And I'm happy that it went that way, because I had a lot of learning and growth, a lot of musical growth to be able to express myself, a lot of verbal articulation, because guys, I used to be totally not with it in terms of my ability to articulate. And I had to learn a lot about computers. I used to not know anything about computers and was very, very computer illiterate. And I had to learn, like, how do computers work, and how do you make whiteboard videos, and how do you save things, and how do you upload videos, and how do you do all these things. I needed life skills. I needed to do so many things. I don't think it was a punishment to still be here for 10 years and to do this work. I think it was an opportunity. I think I leveled up and I grew a lot by trying to figure out, how am I going to share this information with you, the lovely people who have become the students and listeners of my classes. I grew in performing the role of a teacher. Like, instead of just internalizing this music and be like, this is my own song, I'm singing my own song, this is the stuff that I know all about, be like, how do I teach this song to someone else? I had to be like, oh, well, first you play this note, then this note, then this note. And that's how you play the song. So you guys can tell from my class now, I've been doing this for 10 years. I figured out how to teach you guys my own inner rock and roll music of reality creation. But that took me a long time. It was a worthy journey. So now that I've done that, I feel like that was time well spent. I helped and uplifted many other people. I hope that each one of you can look back on the experiences of the past 10 years and similarly feel that it was time well spent, not a punishment, or not like ascension interruptus, like, oh, I thought we were going to be ascended by now. Like, why am I still here? Calgon, take me away. But instead, the sense of there's a cosmic purpose and divine timing. And sometimes we have to be in respectful rapport of that, so that we can be doing things in the right way. Not just like, it's, you know, God, hello, it's much more convenient to me if we could just ascend right now. Cosmic Complaints Department, I would like this on this day. And that sometimes the Cosmic Complaints Department is like, I know, but that's not really what's right for you. So sometimes, please listen, the answer is not a hard no. Sometimes the answer is not yet. And that you stick with it, stick around for the miracle, because it becomes worth it. And then when you look back and you're like, wow, now I can really see why the answer was not yet, because we had to do this, this, and this for all this other really, really good, important stuff to happen. The other inborn firewall of protection with Merkaba is, let's say you're like, oh, I know, I want to get in my Merkaba and fly to blah, blah timeline or blah, blah time space. If it's just a complete misadventure and you shouldn't go there at all, your Merkaba will not take you there. It's like, that is not a good idea. Do not go there. Do not, you don't want to experience that. You think maybe you want that, but you don't want to experience that. So there's a lot of inborn protections that help you as like the beginner of Merkaba music to not play music that would be really self-destructive, not only to you and your trajectory, but to the entirety of time. Adam has a lovely comment here, and thank you for being with us in the classes. Reminds me of Dan Winter's idea to teach children how to achieve bliss. So appreciate the work of Dan Winter. beautiful shout outs to him. I hope that we can collaborate or learn from each other one day. And yes, 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 he talks a lot about the generative force fields that create bliss. Bliss as a frictionless energy state. Dan Winter does a lot of really good work in terms of physical, electrical apparatuses that either generate force fields like hysterify or measure natural bioforce fields, and being able to model them, draw the shape of them, and teach people about what's going on, and recognizing from those shapes and the interactive complementary nature of the shapes of what they're experiencing. And yes, we should teach children how to achieve bliss. Bliss is not synonymous with sexual satisfaction. Bliss is something that every single organism here should experience. And it should be the nature of what we focus on and desire, because it means that you're going to keep on staying alive. Unfortunately, what we teach young people to calibrate to is agitation and obligation, which is usually what school is. For most people, school is the antithesis of bliss. School is a burden and an obligation. And here's kids like, I don't want to have to go to school. I don't like having to learn like this. I don't like having to read these books. I don't like these bullies on the playground. I don't like my teacher. I don't like any of these things. And I want to go home and do this other stuff that really gives me bliss, or run around outside and do this other stuff that really gives me bliss. Our educational process right now is anti-bliss. And that's because our work process right now is anti-bliss. Because here's most adults when they have to go to work. I don't have to go to work. No, I have to drive in my car and go to work and work for my stupid boss and do these stupid reports and do these stupid spreadsheets. My shoulders are down. I'm very, very unhappy and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we're not supposed to be either non-blissful children or non-blissful adults. We get to redefine that in this generation, where we actually require bliss. And that is not the same as non-work or non-effort, because I'm telling you, I can be very blissful doing things that earn money and contribute to society when I am doing the thing that is right for me. So some activities generate bliss for me. Some activities, I'm so frustrated and unhappy when I do them. I'm like, this is the antithesis of bliss, and I don't like to have to do it. So if you love math, doing math generates bliss for you. You're like, I love numbers and I love calculations and I love doing this so much. You should do math. If you're a person where you're like, when I have to do math, like I feel like my head is going to explode and I want to cry. It's the antithesis of bliss. It's like, that should not be your job. You should not do that. You should do something else completely. So even something that you love, like doing music, if someone makes you do it, like, you better write a song for me, that music all of a sudden becomes not very blissful. I'm like, okay, like I write a song for you, but this is kind of not the way I usually do it. Because for me, my music is a natural expression of my bliss. Wake up in the morning and I play what I feel like. And if somebody was whatever threatening me or trying to coerce me into making my music, I'd be like, this is not the blissful experience that I'm used to. So yeah, context is everything. It's not about the activity. It is about the context that you're within that can either give you bliss or generate anti-bliss. And then Dan Winter also does a really lot of good work with environment generating bliss. I lived in a lot of urban environments over the past year when I was not here in Ojai, and they did not generate bliss, to say the least. Those environments were anti-bliss to me, even though you think like, oh, like there are palm trees, the ocean is there, it will be very blissful. It was not blissful to me at all. And that's largely in part because it was not the optimum environment for me. So perhaps some of my neighbors felt bliss. It might have been the right place for them. You know what? Maybe they were scuba divers that are like, I love waking up in the morning, hearing the sound of seagulls and walking with my flippers over to the ocean and diving in and playing with dolphins. They might have been in bliss. But for me, I was not in bliss. I was like waking up in the morning, hearing loud planes and garbage trucks and getting a lot of parking tickets, which I'm still resolving with the city of San Diego. And I did not feel like I was in a very blissful state at all. But here in Ojai, I feel like I'm in a state of bliss. You know why? We're going to end this video conference very soon. And then I go with my dog and we walk around the park that's in the center of town, and we walk around the fountain. We say hi to everyone, and other people might be like, this isn't very blissful to me at all. I don't like what's going on, blah, blah. But for me and Cheeky, we are in bliss because we're in our right place, doing the right thing we need to do. That's it. It's the heart of everything I'm sharing with you here today, that what the sun and the stars give to us in terms of light, guidance, nourishment, and a customized nutritional profile of ideas and events. It's exactly what you need. I need exactly what I have here in Ojai with my little dog and going to the park, or, walking around on the bike path in the places where we like to walk. And I encourage my dog and the other joggers around us. But for other people, the ideal place might be living by the ocean and going outside with your surfboard and your flippers, or living someplace cold where you go skiing and you don't like the ocean, but you like it to be cold and you like skiing and winter sports. Have to follow those inner mandates. It is not a one-size-fits-all solution for people in their lives. And that is also why part of the genius of the way that our system is designed involves free will. You get to choose and you get to use your own free will. And if you're not in bliss, you should change, augment, or redirect your life, because there is such a thing as divine discontent, where you're not just randomly unhappy, but there really is something deep inside of you that is like, I'm not in my right spot. I'm not doing what I need to be doing. And in order to be blissful, I really need to be somewhere else doing something else. So for me, blissfulness is not equivalent to inactivity. Blissfulness means being engaged in the activities that give you a frictionless existence that includes abundance. And I've talked about this with a lot of the people that I do creative mentorship with. You get to that flow state. And in the flow state, you might be a computer programmer and you're like, yeah, I just computer programmed and wrote code for 8 hours straight. And I loved it. And it was awesome. And then I got paid at the end of it. Whatever is your thing, whatever is your gig, whatever you love doing, you do it. And then you find someone else who wants to reward you for it. Cherries says, this is a website, says justgetflux.com for that as well. Works a bit better than Night Shift for me on my Mac. Thank you so much for sharing what works for you. Cherries, this is for blue light filters. So that's an excellent resource. I'm going to read it out loud because the chat doesn't translate to the archive, but this is a suggestion. It is https://justgetflux.com. Night Shift, get the blue light out of your eyes. Pedro says, love the lasagna. Glad I won't accidentally travel while practicing with the Merkaba. Good, very good considerations. You're a very mature individual, Pedro. Please know that you can put into your Merkaba that as an energetic firewall. You can say, I'm putting into my Merkaba the positive intention that I won't travel accidentally. It's like in your car, you have the parking brake that prevents your car from rolling downhill when you park on an incline. Like, you can perform these things in your Merkaba. I also put into my Merkaba things like soft landing, and that's what my gym mat here is when I do all of my time acrobatics, flying rainbow lasagna, Merkaba. I always put that into whatever I'm doing. Soft landing, like if I make a mistake, like you want to learn how to fall properly in the gym, like you fall in a way that you don't hurt yourself, you don't break your bones, and it's just a little like whatever, minor embarrassment, not major orthopedic surgery. You got it? So how to fall gently, that's a big important aspect of it. Making sure that you're not going to go any place, don't travel to any astral bad neighborhoods, no mistakes that are unfixable, minor mistakes, the capacity to learn from those mistakes, nothing that means that you're going to be unduly injured in time or in your physical presence, recoverable mistakes. And that's also part of the pencil with an eraser. I put that into my Merkaba because I'm a good person. So I'm like, yeah, and if I experience something that's a mistake, may I be able to unwind it or erase it or respond to it effectively so that it doesn't destabilize the entirety of time. Melissa says, thank you for being that shining star, sending us just what is needed. Beautiful intelligence, very appreciated. You are so welcome, Melissa. This is my job, Joy. People often wonder, they're like, Aurora, like, how can you speak for like 3 hours on some of these epic, long marathon presentations? I'm like, this is me in bliss, doing exactly what I like to do. I literally used to do this when people would come to my studio pre-2012, and I would be like, oh, I'm so happy that you're here. I want to tell you about all of these ideas, and this is what flying your lasagna is, and this is what Merkaba is. And it's literally what I'm so happy to do, to share in generosity. And that's where I come from. You just give in generosity, give your ideas in generosity. And then you know that positive, good energy will flow to it as the end result. So Melissa, I'm so happy to send the energy to you. I'm so happy to give joyfully and joyously. And I'm so happy to hear that you're receiving it joyously. And that it's exactly the information that needs to come to you, or the inspiration that needs to come to you. Because I really try. Like, if this is the music from the sun, I really try to get the notes right, so I'm sending it to you guys right. I really try to do it properly. So that's also part of my job, Joy, of like being well calibrated. So beautiful, beautiful class today. Thank you so much, guys. I did mostly stick with my notes, but also did extemporize a lot in terms of what we're experiencing right now. It's worth it to check out the notes. Pedro says, Aurora spends the whole day sun gazing to do this marathon sessions. I totally do. And I'm about to go do sun gazing some more, so that way I get to send it off to the sun, like, you know, did this, this, and this, and this, and then the sun will tell me what to do for my evening's assignment, truly. But I also want to make sure if there's any more questions or comments or anything that anyone has to share that you would like to be part of the archive, that you get a chance to do that. So please, if anyone has anything to share, you're welcome to do so right now. And also always sending out my profound love, my profound gratitude, because I recognize that you are tuning into my videos. You're aligning with a certain amount of information or light. You're aligning with the data stream. I am so happy to be able to receive these thoughts and send these thoughts, share them with you. And then I learn a lot hearing the music reflected back and your own thoughts and ideas too. So I'm so infinitely grateful we have just the most beautiful class. We have the most beautiful formerly enrolled students, people who catch this on YouTube, people who catch the archive later. I'm truly in gratitude and thank each one of you. And also I send you so much encouragement, because I want you to know, like the light knows what you're going through. Sun and the stars, higher dimensional consciousness knows what you're going through and knows the challenges of being here. And also, please, stay encouraged, stay faithful, because things really do improve. Like, we really are getting someplace with all of your efforts. The word sincere effort come to me in this moment. So your efforts matter, your integrity matters, your positivity matters. Thank you for the good stuff that you've been doing. Go out and look at the stars tonight, is what Melissa says. Yes, I encourage everyone to do so. Don't get frostbite. Don't go out if it's like -32 or whatever. Wear a blankie. That's what I do. Put on your slippers and a bathrobe and a blankie, stay warm, and look up at the miracle of the stars and get that unique information that goes directly into your eyeballs. It's an amazing miracle. Stars are a miracle. See if you can tune in on that as much as you can and remain in that receptivity, even during the day when you're driving to work and drinking your coffee and doing your thing. Remember that you are in a miraculous sea of light, ocean of light. And thank you to those people who have signed up for the next cycle of Path of Light, which begins this Saturday. It continued information, opportunity, continued invitation, information, and opportunity. Patrons, you do not have to pay anything extra. Enrollees from last time, you don't have to pay anything extra. People that need a payment program, scholarship, tuition, creativity, or whatever, please contact me. Please let that concern be secondary if you have an interest and a desire to participate. So continued invitation and encouragement to be a part of that curriculum, because I'm so excited to teach that on Saturday mornings. So if that's enough for right now, I will end the recording, and then briefly I'm going to take Chiki out for exercise and the end of the day. Thank you so much, everyone.